To Snowmobile Sessions live on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. We're the #1 destination to learn about snowmobiling, network with other sledders, and have an awesome time doing it. We'll meet other snowmobilers that share your passion and show your fan photos along the way. Snowmobile Sessions live. Enjoy the ride.
It's a journey for life, and I'm your ride. Hang on.
All right.
There we go.
I am
Look at
so
that coat.
excited about tonight. I'm going to learn to press record one of these days.
That's all right,
about
brother.
all you guys hanging
We're
out
only
in
40
the
seconds in this time.
That's right.
Yeah, not too bad.
we have Dean S. He's the first guy in. Rich Outdoors. Hey everyone, we're gonna go live. Enjoy. That's you. This is Rich Outdoors.
That's right. You
Anyway.
gotta put me up there. You got to start plugging me, Gary.
I didn't even
right.
sleep last night. I've been so excited about our special guest tonight. Without further ado, here's Dave Norona. Is it okay if I call you Dave effing Norona?
That's totally fine. I get a lot. Mostly it's my Sharona. So, but feel free.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
actually, when you and I were chatting last week, Dave, I was texting out like to Mark Bow and everything. Guess who I got on the show? Dave effing Norona. And I think I did that to Bobby and Richard too. So, but anyway, this has been way too much of the P word talk the last few episodes,
Oh, here we go.
and so I've dressed up tonight. I've got my,
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for my jacket to show up in the mail. I heard when you're a guest on the show, you get a jacket.
yeah, I'm like Adam Sandler. You get a brand new Ferrari and you get a jacket when you show up. So yeah, so Big
That's
Facts is second in the chat here. So this is pretty cool. But hope everyone's. I got some other goodies too. So if that was this, do you know what this jacket's from? Speaking of, do you know it, Dave Norona?
Well, it looks like a 50th anniversary jacket.
Yeah, when you buy a 50 edition snowmobile, there's only 1,000 of them made. You got the jacket.
That's
How'd you get that?
Check out the back. I
Nice.
freaking looked all over eBay. I ended up having 2 of them, and then I
Nice.
sold the one. And then the guy that this one came from, he said, "Oh, hey, listen, I've got the spring jacket that came with it too." I'm going, I've never even heard of the spring jacket. And you know what? Last year at the snowmobile show, there was a guy wearing this coat, not the
Well, you
leather
took it
one.
off him?
No, this one. I actually had this one. There it is there. So I've never seen this one except at the Toronto Sled Show. Guy was wearing it. It's got the little BRP logo there.
That's nice.
But yeah, and then he said he had the toque too, which I didn't buy because I know Dave Norona. I fell in love with Dave Norona, and this is what he wears all the time when
They're
he's
the
sled
best.
skiing. So
When I go
Yeah, so I'm good.
outside, when I'm inside, I wear a regular hat, but that's what I wear when I, because
Outside.
all the Americans think that it snows 24/7 here in Squamish and Whistler. So,
yeah.
so
Well, is your igloo
wanna-
heated, Dave?
pardon me?
Is your igloo heated?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see I've painted the inside of the igloo. It takes so long for it to paint because the paint keeps saturating the ice, and then once you put enough layers on, I would say excuse my office because it's a mess, but actually I don't really care. So if someone wants to think that I'm a messy guy, I am.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm going to get a jacket like yours is the next time I'm in Valcora, I'm definitely going to go and try to steal one out of the back room.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you you said you usually wear a normal hat when you're indoors. Do you want to take a few minutes to go get a normal hat? One with a curved peak, maybe?
There you go.
I'm only busting your chops.
As I could say, as an athlete, you take what you can get, and yes, I actually like these hats, but due to our age, someone said we should start wearing our age-appropriate hats for us.
Yeah, that's right. Did you pull your pants up yet, or you still have them hanging down? With your
Pants are down around my knees and no belt. Don't need one.
Yeah, for sure. Cohen, he's a fan. He's been on every week. He said you've taken a break from your off-season workouts. I should show what that's all about, right?
Yeah, do it.
I should really show what that's all about. So,
Steve,
here, I've got it. Yeah, I've got it queued up here. I just gotta find it here.
Yeah, I have a 4-year-old, so I'm out pretty early.
This is Dave's.
This is what it's like when I go on vacation. Always some
That's
yahoo.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I felt every one of those water crystals on my face.
How many times did you have to do that? Film that one day? How many times did that happen to you?
Believe it or not, we filmed that
One take?
once. I'm a
Nice.
one take wonder, as people say, and that's my buddy Pat Stewart.
This is the best.
He's hilarious, and
This is-
so yeah.
I
So
like
that's my wife there, so I'm always towing her around.
Oh, she's meditating.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of like the gas and granola and gasoline. We live on both sides of the fence. We paddleboard and we motorize, right?
Nice.
Oh,
You
wow.
guys is up from the city.
So yeah, Pat Stewart, he's a legend. This guy. So we ride with him all the time, and he's an animal, but he's on everything that he does. So
Nice.
I thought he was
Beautiful
the
area.
guy from. I thought he was the guy from Glass Tiger.
yeah, he could be. He probably is in a Glass Tiger video many years ago.
Actually, those guys live right around the corner from me, Gary.
No way.
Yeah,
Well,
they do.
that's
Actually, the one guy's son played with my son in hockey. Believe it or not, and the guy from Tragically Hip, the bassist from the Tragically Hips.
Oh, that's cool. Well, we got the guys from Loverboy. They just live in Vancouver still, right? And so it's like you'll run into all these people that it's like, and they're driving old hot rods, and then you're like, that guy looks like the guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. So, what kind of things do you do to prepare for your preseason workouts?
Well,
Is that-
as you know, it's some lucky winner here. We'll go home with one of these. Skidoo sent out these exercise bands this year because they all thought we were getting chunky. And, it's kind of a marketing thing, but it's kind of their way of not saying that we're getting chunky, but like here guys probably use these, but they don't know that a lot of us actually are pretty smart. Like if you go on Brett Rasmussen, he got like 20 of these. And he made a human slingshot for giant zucchinis in his yard for his kids.
That's awesome.
Classic.
That's what happens when you give motorized guys exercise equipment. They find a lot of other reasons
For entertainment.
Yeah,
That's cool. So
Yeah.
as always, Dave, I'm glad you're here. We always review kind of what we did last week. I have Jesse in the waiting room too. And so we got some stuff to talk to him about. And but we review fan photos, and people send me in fan photos like crazy. This week we've got a lot. We get more and more as we go here. And if anyone wants to be featured in an upcoming episode, just send your video links or your photos to fanphoto@mudbrats.com, just like Jesse did. And Jesse sent me a little video that's on YouTube right now of his XRS 850. So we're going to get to that, but I just want to show you some photos here first. So we're going to go over here, and I just want to get rid of that one. This might be kind of messy here. There we go. Why have I got the whole thing on the screen here? I just want that guy on the screen.
look at that. Hey, what kind of lawnmowers, riding mower is that guy running?
I know. It looks like a John Deere, right? This is Jason Campo. That's a 600R. Isn't that nice? Renegade. He just got that. That's his new to me sled, he says.
Sick.
And hold on a second here. Something else is going on here. There it is there. Okay. Sorry about the background mess you see here. This is actually up in, this is Becky Adkins. She's actually, believe it or not, she's a diehard snowmobiler. She also has a Camaro. I think she's probably watching right now, although I don't know whether she said her internet's spotty, but she's a member of the Sled Chicks Facebook group. So,
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
she's
a
big,
97, by the way, Gary. That's a 97.
Yeah,
I can tell by the decals.
Yeah, and I guess this is outside of a bar, although Bud Light sponsored it, and it's got kind of a don't drink and drive theme, but it's more drive responsibly. Apparently, this guy was just loading up for the day and thought he'd take his sled across the lake one last rip, and it was just bad decisions and bad timing. It was foggy, and he didn't judge the shoreline, and he went into the trees, and he didn't make it. unfortunately, and you can see his helmet's even still there on the back. So it's kind of a neat reminder that we're not all mortal. We're not all mortal, or we are mortal, whatever the word is, and just drive responsibly. We talked about speeding last week pretty greatly, right?
Hey, I got two things to add to that. Did you say she sleds and owns a Camaro?
Yeah.
I didn't know this was a dating show.
It is. We're going to bring her on, and maybe Richard,
Easy.
We can play that game. We'll play the dating game on that episode. Anyway, and this is John Ferguson. He sent me this. Isn't that a nice old Polaris and Assault? I think there's the comments here this week were pretty unanimous that they need more Polarises on the show, and I blame Revrider for that.
We had to get them with the program a little bit, but it looks like they're finally joining in.
Yeah, for sure. And then, do you remember Jeremy Jeremy from the last show? He works at Bickley Ford in Huntsville. So if you guys are ever looking for a Ford pickup, their employee pricing event's on till the end of the month. So go see Jeremy, and then you'll help him buying a truck from him. You'll help him upgrade his sled this year. If you watched the video last year, Jeremy rides, you'll see he needs an upgrade this year. So, that's all I'm going to say. This is Mr. 85 GT. He won a shirt last week, and he sent me this one.
Nice.
Again, there was some comment about needing more Polaris on the channel, but he said, "Don't fear, this is his wife's Blizzard." So that's a real nice machine.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite.
He had one of the link bags on the back of that Polaris too, eh?
Yeah, he did, and that's funny because I know someone else that runs all Link accessories on his Assault.
Why don't you pull up the picture of that? I got no shame in that.
I will. I think it might be in here. I apologize if it's not. This is Revrider's flashback. He sent me this. It's great.
That's what all started it, eh? Right?
Yeah, well, that was actually my 2008 TNT. So not the whole Revrider550 thing, but my second skidoo, and that was a great sled. Probably one of my favorite sleds I ever had.
Yeah.
Nice. That looks like mine parked behind. That looks like mine parked behind you there.
Yeah, that's a 09 TNT 600 E-Tech.
Yeah. Is Richard? Is this your buddy, Richard Carter?
No,
that's a great. He sent me some real. Look at this shot, eh?
Nice.
I love that. That's pretty good. Oh, and that's another one. That's the same guy. And then Sean Conley sent me this. You see I don't know. I think Revrider must have said to all the Brat gang, can you bombard Gary's email with Polaris photos?
There we go.
Tony Cat, this is great. He sent me some nice shots. I don't have the script for this, but he explained what he was doing and where he was.
Is that Pete's Peak? It looks like that's
it is.
Old Ford area. Yeah, there it is.
You drove there last week.
Oh,
last year,
one of the best vistas we have out our way.
I was going to say it's Arctic Cat guy walking home.
Yeah. Taking a shortcut. And that's his rig.
I only jest. Doesn't matter what you ride to me. It's all about having fun.
Exactly,
oh, it is for sure. Yeah. It is for sure. We're going to bring Jesse on. Here, I'm just going to stop that screen there. Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Jesse's sent me a video link to. Well, he just sent me clips, and I packaged it together for the show for his new delivery, and that's the XRS 850. I don't know whether everyone's seen it or whether I need to send pictures of that, or I should have queued that up because I don't. Just give me a minute. If you guys talk amongst yourselves, let me know about what you're doing with that 850, and I had the new gauge package on it and stuff. Go ahead and shoot.
It's exciting. I'm looking forward. Hopefully, I'll be in Cochrane end of December. That's usually what I like to do to start off the season. If I get lucky, I might be able to go for a ride at the Halliburton Forest. And it's exciting. I'm ready for snow to come already.
Yeah, that's great.
Halliburton Forest is a great place to break in your sled. I broke in my sled last year there, put 375 kilometers going in a circle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just all logging roads, right? So they just need a little bit of snow and they can groom it.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. So you're looking forward to getting that new sled out. It's a beautiful sled.
Yes, I was looking forward to it so much that I took it for a little rip on the grass the other day.
Oh,
Yeah, and
nice.
here-
That's
here
right.
we-
I remember that from last week. Yeah.
Let's just take a quick look at this, and we'll talk about some stuff here, okay, guys? You're a natural at this stuff, Jesse.
Yeah, it's a nice looking sled.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
New gauge. Nice. That is nice.
I didn't realize until I watched that video that there was that strip down the middle on it.
Yeah, it's at night, you don't see it. They were pretty clever in marketing that.
Yeah. There's two light modes. There's like a day mode and a night mode, and in the night mode you don't really see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, if you watch my video in the spring, I actually blew the cover off of that.
Yeah.
It's really just
you mount your cell phone on there?
Two phones.
Yeah, you can connect your cell phone with the new BRP Go app when that comes out. But in terms of just connecting your phone for like music and seeing phone calls, it's just through BRP Connect. I did that already last week. It worked great.
Yeah, like that clip he's got on the dash there, Richard, that's for his GPS. So he's going to run both.
Ah, okay.
If you're plugging in your phone, you actually it's a heated glove compartment. So you with the Apple cord plug in it. So you just plug your phone in, leave it in the glove box, and close it up, and you're good to go.
Nice, very nice sled, Jesse. That's really nice. That's got
There's
the new
more here. We got it.
suspension. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll watch this part about the suspension, Dave.
Oh, this is great. I pointed this out. That's good. Very nice. Yeah. Even the colors are sharp. I like how they got the red accents in there. Looks really nice.
I didn't know if I wanted to be black or yellow, and then I chose yellow.
Yeah.
I just want Dave Norona to hear this next part and just get his feedback.
Oh no, I shouldn't have said it.
Nah, I love it. That's all right, Jesse. You're telling the truth. Pal.
Okay, hold on. Did you what was that word you said there?
I can't hear anything. There's no audio. We can't
Yeah, I
hear.
don't have audio either.
Oh, you don't?
There's no audio, Gary. No. There's no audio.
Oh, he said it handles more like a Polaris.
The front end.
Front end, yeah.
The front end. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why it didn't have. I don't know why it didn't have audio. I'll have to fix that.
Comparison. My dad runs for 29.
Well, the great thing about that, with what you said, Jesse, is, the great thing for all of us is every sled manufacturer is always pushing the limits, and they're always trying to outdo each other. So one year we'll put efforts into the front end, and of course we're riding all the other sleds on the market because we can't do it all at once. Rarely, we did that with the Gen 4 platform and mountain. We changed everything, but rarely does that happen because of the expense. And so it's really common for a consumer or anybody to compare and then see the differences. And it's not a hit. It's actually, Polaris comes out with some amazing technology. All the manufacturers do. And, our job, or the engineer's job, is to, and I know that, the president, well, he's in their office yelling at the top of his lungs of how we need to make this better. And we need to improve it better for the consumer. And there's no doubt in Polaris and Arctic Cat and Yamaha, they're doing the same thing, which we all benefit from, right? So it's, as the engineers always say to me, it's the passion in our blood that actually encourages all those engineers to go to work every morning and designers to come up with this stuff. Because, I always ask people, like, what would you make different? And lots of times it's really hard to say that. And then, but that comparison is that next step of going, okay, well, someone's saying something here, and it's much better from the way you said it than how some people will just say, oh, that's crap. We hear we hear about Torsion Springs all the time. Torsion Springs are the best suspension available right now for the money. You can make it better for thousands of dollars. Yeah. But they handle the small bumps and the big bumps. And some of the manufacturers that went away from Torsion Springs, Polaris, has come back to them. And meanwhile, people on our side think they suck and you got to get rid of them. But there's nothing better right now. And when there is, we will address that. And you always have to remember it's for the greater amount of riders. Yeah, sure, you can make a sled for the 1%, but it isn't going to be good for myself or all the other people who go out and ride every day and have fun, but aren't at the 1% of the pros that are out there.
Well said, Dave. We say that every week, Gary and I. It doesn't matter what you ride.
Everything.
And I said this in our first episode, Dave. We need to have all 4 manufacturers. Like, I don't want to see Arctic Cat and Yamaha go away. And I'm not saying they are, but you're totally right. They push each other, and it only helps us all as enthusiasts in snowmobiling. So I totally agree with you on that. And I think they all share something that they own that's better than everyone else. And it's great. So that was awesome. Well said, Dave.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, I mean, it's like that in every sport, from jackets to, no one can have everything the best in a way. And one jacket manufacturer comes out with something, and you'll see it in everybody else a year or two later, and then they come out with something, and we're the winners. That's all that matters, is we just get better stuff every year. So hit the nail on the head.
That's great. So Jesse, you mentioned Cochrane riding. So do you do much off trail riding at all?
A little bit here and there. This year, I guess I'm transitioning a little bit because I went from I had a 1.5 track on the last one, and now I'm going to a 1.25. So a little bit less off trail. I do mostly on trail, but I do go off trail a little bit to play.
Are you pretty confident off trail? Are you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, actually, you know what, guys? I've got a little clip I can show you that of some off trail riding that Jesse has done. And we'll just put you over here. Hopefully there's some sound.
Where did did Nunzio give this to you?
Yeah. No sound, but that's all right. We get the gist of it.
nice.
That's awesome.
I like the guy crawling in the background. He's classic.
The story behind that was we pulled the machine out of there, and the track wasn't spinning. So our first thought was there was something wrong with the chain. And so we rushed back to Cochrane to buy like a toboggan, because you couldn't pull the sled because of all the studs. It was just getting the sled that was pulling it was sinking in the snow. So we went to get a toboggan. We came back, and then we found out that there was just a massive boulder in my tunnel. We pulled the boulder out, and it was completely fine.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That is crazy. So no, that's good. Well, thank you for sharing your sled photos and videos with me, buddy. I appreciate that. Did you have anything else you wanted? I'm going to kick you to the curb, Jesse, but did you have anything else you want to say? It's 5-minute fan session.
Yeah. There's some stale M&Ms in the green room there, Jesse.
Yeah, I think we should send Jesse something.
Oh,
I got something.
Awesome.
So, hey, Jesse, I'm going to send you some of this. This is the XPS degreaser and cleaner. So you can keep all that, all the outside stuff. You just spray this stuff on. It works wicked. And then I'm going to send you also some S1. This is, I don't know what's in this. It's probably pretty toxic, but it works. Like, it just melts belt stuff off your clutches and everything. It is the best clutch cleaner that you can have and use. And just because you don't need to use it, you can just walk around the gym now with one of these exercise bands.
That's
awesome.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
So send in, well, how you ever want to do it, you can send in your address, and then these guys will get it to me, and then I'll mail it out to you.
I've got it because the bugger won a shirt the first show we did.
Nice. Jesse's cleaned up the first few episodes.
Yeah. Dave did not mention one thing, Jesse. You have to actually clean my sled, Rich's sled, Jeremy's old 500, and Mike Kay's sled. Mike Kay is the one who sent me that video.
That makes sense.
But guys, we're going to do a 5-minute fan session every week. And we're just going to pull you guys out of the chat and bring you on. And just basically, we'll just get you to go me, 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 me. And you got to be ready with your camera and your microphone and a nice background, not like Dave's background here, more like maybe Bobby's. Bobby's is better this week.
Good attempt.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't have your mom walking through in her towel or anything like that. We don't need any of that. But no, so we'll do that every week. Thank you again, Jesse. You've been awesome the last few episodes. We really appreciate your support. That's for sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jesse.
Awesome. Yeah, you'll always have it. Any snowmobiler is a friend of mine. That's for sure.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Talk like a true snowmobiler.
Yeah, we'll see you, Jesse. Yeah, that's great, eh? I I love the fans of this show. It's awesome.
Yeah, we got some good interaction going in there, some good conversation going on there in the chat room too. So,
and I had a couple of people come over to my channel from Bobby's channel, from Revrider's channel last week, and hit that subscribe button, and then he sent me a nice message, and so it's flattering,
Yeah,
it
that's
really
awesome.
is, so.
Same with my channel. I've definitely had some guys that are going through all the videos now, and it's nice going back and forth talking to them about sleds.
Yeah, it's neat. The videos that they're pulling up are old. Like,
yeah, same.
It's so cool. It's like when Rich and I started talking, he's binge watching like really old stuff, and you kind of forget that it's even sitting out there, right?
Exactly.
Is a 2019 Backcountry XRS 850 a good idea for a new rider? This is from Six String Brian. What do you think, Dave?
What is it again?
A 2019 XRS 850 Backcountry.
Yeah.
For a new rider.
It's funny because I remember when the 850 came out, and I was actually, when we had a meeting, I said, is this going to have a detune button? So when guys are unloading or loading up onto their deck or something, that they could detune it, especially with a new rider. Because, when we all rode it, when we tested it, we were like, every one of us had arm pump. Like, we ride a lot, but it was like, holy, this thing, and then after you ride it for a while, it actually becomes the new norm. And so what's nice about the 850, and this goes for the turbo as well, is they're really manageable with great throttle control down below. Like they're like a normal sled. You get used to it. But when you open up the can of beans, it's got a lot there. So, with any sled nowadays, you gotta start out easy and be aware, because they are so powerful. And they hook up so good. But yeah, I mean, the 850, what's so nice about it is you just gradually just get better and better. And as you get better, you get into harder, faster, worse areas where you need it, right?
The only thing I would say about an 850 for a new rider is the P-drive clutch is amazing. I can't say enough about it. And you can ride that thing as slow as you want. Like, it'll just creep on the ground like real slow. The thing with any big bore, like the 800, I found with my Renegade when I first got my 800, and the 850 is even worse. It'll get you into trouble faster than you can get out of it. And I was coming up to this fence. There's a fence, so it was an open gate like that, and it was staggered like this. And it was my Renegade with the ice ripper, which I can't say enough bad about ice ripper tracks. But I was flying along, and I just wasn't confident in the sled, being new to it. It was our first ride on it. And I know after a few rides, I could have made that clearing, but I ended up getting on the brake, and I went right into a tree. It cleaned the master cylinder right off the handlebars, flipped the thing over. Like, it could have been a lot worse than what it was, but that's the thing. The speed and the power, you love the feel of it, because at 70 miles an hour, it's going, oh yeah, I'm ready to come out and play, and it's ready to go. It's like a 600 going off the stop at 70 miles an hour. And it's like, yeah, if you're not ready for it, you want to get out there and run gradual to that speed. Try the braking, try the steering. What's it feel like as far as the manners of the sled? Because it'll get you into situations that you won't get out of, and if you panic, it could be a bad thing. But great sled, 850. Yeah.
I tell guys, anybody who's new to the mountain, or I mean, this goes for trail as well, and you get a new sled, hang at the back of your group for a day or two. Like, it's if you ever go dirt biking or mountain biking or something, you get a guy who goes right to the front and tries to be all that, and then by the end of the ride, he's wiping out everywhere. So the guy in the back who just like slowly passes everybody as they crash or do stuff. And it just allows you to get used to the handling, because you could take two identical sleds and, I hop on yours, you hop on mine, and they feel completely different, even though they're the exact same sled, just from handlebar roll, where you have your placement on all your stuff, and just wherever that is. And it just takes time and not long, but if you do that, you're just going to be so much better off, especially you don't want to clean your cylinder head right off.
No, the master cylinder of the brake. I went to the dealership.
Right, yeah. I was like, wow, I'm surprised you're still here. That's but yeah, it's.
You want to know something? Drove home, so we only had maybe 6-7 miles to get home. We drove home, and it was a tilt trailer, so you had to drive the sled up on the trailer. And I pull it up on the trailer, and I go to lock the brake, and the lock was gone. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever. So the brakes worked, and it held it on the incline of the trailer. So then Drew put his up, the trailer goes down, we lock him in, we head off. I go to the dealer the next day. I said, hey, I need that little part that locks your brake. You know, I thought that was all that broke off. So I go pick it up at the parts counter, and I look at it and go, there's something white on mine. This is all black. And the guy's going, I don't know white. So I walk over to a brand new sled, and I look, and the little box that holds all your brake fluid's gone, totally gone. So I went, I need the whole piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was scary. Like that could have been really bad had I been honking on it after that, and the fluid came out of the line. You know, it would have been pretty bad. But fun times for all. So
hey Dave, a question for you, just for all the flatlanders out here. Whereabouts do you ride exactly? I know you're out in BC, but if you could just explain to some of the guys that are in the chat room that aren't familiar. I mean, everybody knows who you are, but can you explain about where you ride basically?
Well, I'm surprised that people know who I am, first of all. But I live in Squamish, British Columbia. I was born in Vancouver, which is just down the road. So Squamish is halfway between Vancouver and Whistler. So Vancouver to Whistler is about 100 kilometers, and Squamish is basically half that distance, 50 kilometers. And what makes Squamish better than Whistler is that all the cool adventure stuff kind of starts in Squamish and then goes all the way to Whistler. So if you live in Whistler, you never really come back to Squamish. But if you live in Squamish, you have all these cool spots for sledding, skiing, everything, all the way to Whistler, and then stuff past there. And we are kind of a month ahead or behind of Whistler. So while it gets colder in the mornings in Whistler, we're still able to ride in much more mild conditions. And it does snow here, but rarely. If you live in Whistler, before you can go out, you got to shovel your driveway, because if you don't, you come back and it's going to be probably wet cement. Whereas in Squamish, that more likely than not will be rain. So it's kind of a really nice place to live, that you're not living in winter. We do, like you say, we'll get two or 3 feet of snow on the ground, and then it'll stick around for a couple of weeks and then be gone. And whereas in Whistler, you're full on winter, right? It's so it's kind of nice to be in the winter in the mountains, but not have all the snow you have to shovel all the time.
Yeah, I got some pictures of Dave's area he sent me for fan photo. You can see those, Dave?
Yeah, this is just closer to Kamloops. On the Shuswap. This is actually a little river between the big Shuswap Lake and little Shuswap Lake. If you ever get out to BC, that's where you want to go. This is just down the road from Carl Kuster's place. And
cool.
we did a cool trip on skidoos from the top of the lake up into Kamloops and had lunch and back. It's about a 300 kilometer. Nothing for you guys, but for the BC boys, 300 kilometers on a skidoo for the day is, we ran out of gas. It was, we turned it into a pretty good adventure.
Yeah, the Ski-Doos are pretty cool nowadays. They got all the Link accessories on them. The guy pulled up in Huntsville with a Ski-Doo Link jerry can on the back, with the stackable one, the brand new Gen 4 one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can tow behind them, wake skates, foil. This is an electric foil, but you can tow foils behind them. Like they're just like, you don't need a $200,000 boat anymore, right? It's you can do a lot of cool stuff.
Your foil videos are amazing. Like that's cool. Such a neat product, Yeah,
this is something that I got involved with a few years ago, and we bring them into BC for people. And it till this day, I go almost every day, and for an hour, and even to this day, like I was out this morning, and it was like we just had a big rainstorm. The fog was on the water, and then it cleared, and it was total glass. There was no one out. And you're out there going, I can't believe what I'm doing right now. And why is no one else out here? So we're pretty lucky. Like the water around, we have lots of water, but it's not used as much as it is around you guys. Number one, because it's a little bit cold and it's the ocean, as opposed to, a much nicer lake and maybe a little bit warmer. But when you do get out on the water on boats, Sea-Doo, sailboat, lift e-foil like this, you kind of have your own playground. There's just not a lot of people.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Cool.
Look at the scenery in the background. Like that's just
I know
beautiful.
The scenery.
I don't know, man. The mountains. I've always had a thing for the mountains. I wish I could live out west, but maybe one day. All my family's out that way, so I know. I was mentioning the show before. A good friend of mine's son owns a Polaris dealer out in Pemberton, How far is that? Is that close to you at all?
Yeah,
Dave,
so Pemberton is literally just under an hour from me. Not that far. It's about 35 minutes to Whistler, and I guess it is an hour. It's 30, and then 30 minutes from Whistler to Pemberton.
Okay, awesome. So it's basically a really great riding area in that whole within an hour or two. Would you say?
Oh, like I ride 15 minutes from my house, so
Nice.
So then there's riding areas all along the highway to Whistler, and then the next my favorite area to go when I go a little bit further is up through Pemberton. That's, I mean, it's just got so much from the Pemberton ice fields to over the Hurley and lots of cool. Chris Brown, who owns the Players Field up there, he does. You can do trips through him, and it's an amazing area.
Awesome, nice.
Now you do a lot of sled skiing as well, like in this picture. How does that work? Like you take 2 sleds up, obviously, right?
Yeah,
And-
well, I came from skiing and then ski touring, and I didn't buy a sled to ski. I bought a sled because I wanted to get into sledding. And then after a year of riding, I was like, hey, I'm going to go up here and take my skis. And this is actually a POW surf. So this is a snowboard with no binding. So it's like it's made by Grassroots, a guy that's just out in Washington who makes these boards, and they're super trick. They got like concave bottoms and stuff. And at first, it's really weird. You got foam on the top, and you just stand on it. So what's great about doing it from a sled is you wear all of the same stuff. You just hop off your sled.
That's awesome.
And because it's quite challenging, you don't need to be on really steep terrain. This is actually pretty steep terrain that we're in, and it's a deep day. But when you're, you can choose mellower slopes. So when the avalanche conditions are really high, you can be on this, and it's really challenging without being in really challenging terrain. But it's a hoot. And
Nice.
it's super easy for anyone to give it a try. You grab it, put the leash on, and go for it. And your wipeouts are pretty epic.
That's awesome.
Oh, biking too. I love it. I got to come out here and see you, Dave. This is awesome. Right up
Yeah,
my
Look
alley.
at that. Look at
This
that
is
country.
funny,
in the
Mike.
background.
So when you mentioned Pemberton, this is another half hour past Pemberton up in over the Hurley into a place called the Chilcotins and Shoe Laps. The Chilcotins is kind of a park. You can't do motorized in there. But outside of it, there's hundreds of miles of old mining, horseback, moto trails. And my buddy has a cabin up there. This is doing a trip with him back there. This is just a month ago. It was sick. We had a really rainy spring, and so everything's a lot greener, and the rivers were high, and but just beautiful country, right? Tons of moose and stuff back there.
Nice. And mountain biking. Sweet.
Yeah,
I
this
have
is
a bike.
this is riding up the backside of Whistler. Whistler's kind of was closed for a long time, and then the top still remains closed, but we ride up there anyway.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
think that's
beautiful
all the
up there,
pictures.
man.
Oh, there we go. Another
That's nice.
another lift foil, e-foil. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, same. And there's like the nice thing, we can get into the alpine. Snow, it takes a while for the snow to go away, but this shot here was actually, that's a full moon. So that's actually at that's about 12 midnight, 12 or 1, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Isn't that
bright.
something?
Yeah, we took a trip out. There in the early spring, and we stayed at this place called Harrison Hut, and you can sled in there and stay overnight, and it was super cool. We have a big bonfire going there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That
See,
is
this is the
awesome.
question I have is how do you get back up to the slope when you
Oh,
ski
yeah.
down? Yeah, like
So essentially what you do is if you and I go out, we both ride to the area, then we make a track down, and you make it down so that now it's a sort of it's like a smooth road down rather than being fresh powder. And then we leave a sled at the bottom, and then we tandem ride back up, so stand on each side of the machine, and then we get
Nice.
back up to the top, and then we can both ski with each other for safety. Back down to the machine, then we double back up, and then we reset them. So that's if you have 2 people. If you have 4, you just go to the top, and 2 people ski down, and 2 people ride down, and then you double up, and then you just switch. So, in a morning, you can get 10 to 15,000 vertical ski laps, and that's what I love about it is I like ski touring as well, but if you ski tour in a winter, you don't get very much downhill because you're walking back up. And sled skiing is, it's essentially, we call it a poor man's helicopter, but it's way more fun than sitting in a helicopter because you're riding on the way up.
yeah, nice,
That's awesome.
nice. Talk to me about this 850 turbo.
Yeah,
So,
what do you want to know? It's my,
get ready.
you know, it's funny, you know, I get it a lot. People go, oh, you're going to say this and you say that and you're paid to say this. And, you know, I'm just like a person on your show, and just like all of you guys, I'm the luckiest kid on the block to get to work with Ski-Doo. And one of the best parts is working with engineering and then trying and testing the new things they come up with. And I don't care how long you've been sledding or how long you've been in the business, when you get to try new stuff, if you're not excited about that, you better find something else to do. So what's so amazing about the 850 Turbo is things that you make on your 850, say, or a naturally aspirated machine, when you go on the Turbo, it's just turbocharged. It's just so much more fun. The fun factor, it's just giddy. Even if it's the same hill, I can make it up on a 175, 850. On the Turbo, it's like the skis are off the whole time, and just the way it turns the snow, just like you get to the top and you're both just giggling, like you just can't believe what it's doing. And it's easier to ride. It's another leap forward of everything that is just easier, more fun. And, you know, I wasn't a big turbo guy at all. Like if you said, hey, we want to give you a turbo, I've had offers for turbos and I always declined them. I didn't want to work on sleds. I'm not a big mechanical guy. I know how to do lots of stuff, but it's just not my thing. I don't want to be in my garage working on stuff. I kind of want to be with my family or doing sports and having fun. And so I just stayed away from that, because the honest answer is, if you own a turbo from an aftermarket, and this is not to dish the aftermarket, you really need two sleds. You need two sleds, one for your testing so that you can get your turbo sled working properly. And then if you have a problem or you need to do something, then you have that other sled to ride. And you also don't need a turbo on most days. Like when it's not, you know, this is a day where it's not super deep pow, you don't really need a turbo. And so when you're on a turbo, man, you're in the game. Everything's fast. Like you were saying earlier about, you know, the kick in the pants. And if you're not careful, the thing can get away with you. What's so great about the 850 is if you ride it, like when I rode into this area, you use the same gas and oil that you do on your normal naturally aspirated 850, because you're not really pinning it places. You're just riding around. And then, you know, of course, you do some climbs that you probably wouldn't do or couldn't make on your 850 naturally aspirated. Now you're going up with a turbo. So yeah, you're going to burn a little more gas and oil, but the thing just rides normally, except when you do squeeze the throttle and you need to get out in that really deep snow. It just smiles and does it. And then you're smiling, you're not stuck, right?
So
yeah.
Dave, I was just looking at the graph there. I'm looking at the 850 puts out about 170 horsepower thereabouts, right? Close to that. Am I right?
165 is what we
165. Okay. So as you're on an aspirated engine, a regular 850 going up the mountain, you start losing horsepower at like 4,000 feet, 6,000, and then basically at around 12,000 feet, which is really high up. That's where the turbo takes over, right? And literally, I think I'm looking at the graph here, and on the 850, the regular aspirated, it gets down to about 120 horsepower, where the turbo is still up there at around the 150 mark, which is pretty damn awesome.
That's right. So every 1,000 feet, you lose roughly 8 to 10 horsepower. Let's say that. Okay. So, yeah. And, you know, nobody notices that. This is why the horsepower game is really fun. Like, is really interesting, because when we came out with the sled, everyone was disappointed because we said our turbo makes 165 horsepower at 8,000 feet. And then people, when they go online and they buy an aftermarket turbo, they're saying that their aftermarket turbo will give you 215 horsepower, which is false in most cases. It might be their peak horsepower, but it's not the horsepower that you and I are gonna get when we're out riding. That'll be more closer to 190, and we're talking about if we're using pump gas, probably even below that. So when you compare those to this, because a lot of us on the team have had aftermarket turbos, and then we've compared it to this, and they're like, there's just no comparison. Yeah. And, you know, I'll give you a perfect example of one of the guys on the team had Jeremy Mercier. He lives in Colorado at 12,000 feet. So he would be the guy who would have a turbo, but he didn't for a long period of time because he just didn't want to do the same thing that I didn't want to do, work on it all the time. He ended up getting a turbo. We're not going to use the brand name because it really doesn't matter. And he installed it himself and did that. And man, he could not get it to run great. And he was ready, as he said, to take it off and just give it back. And then he took it to Volt, who tunes turbos. He's just down where he lives. And normally he would charge about $2,000 to install and do the turbo because the guy is like a wealth of knowledge. And Jeremy said, when I got the sled back from him, he said, there's no hands down, I'm never going to go without a turbo again. But that's what you're not told about all these things. And if you go on any forums where guys have installed their turbos, they're just like, they got question after question, and then this isn't doing that, and how do I do this? Because you got to play with your clutching and the fuel and everything. And if you're not dialed, which I'm not, then you're not going to get it right. It's going to take a lot to get it dialed. And again, it's not a hit on the aftermarket. You have to remember, I always tell people, you know, you always have that the straight A student in school that was your friend, and they said, I never study. And they don't think of studying because they love studying. They love reading books and looking at that. I didn't like studying. I never read books. So I wasn't an A student. And that's the same thing when you look at a turbo. If you love working and you love wrenching, and it isn't a big deal to go back and forth and online and rip your motor, you know, rip parts apart to fix them, you're going to love it. But that's not me. I want pull and go. And so once I started on this turbo, like I said last year, you know, we, you know, when we get our sleds in our team, it's all in a budget, and we have to, you know, there's budgets we have to adhere to. And I was like, hey, did we budget for us to have 2 turbos? Because I don't want a naturally aspirated sled. I'll never ride it. And it's not to say that the naturally aspirated sled isn't great.
Once you've been riding that turbo, though, is like you said, going from that, it's like comparing apples to oranges, especially for out west, right? So
it's just better in every way. And it doesn't mean that if I had to go out and buy a machine tomorrow and I could only afford an 850 naturally aspirated, which is not far from the truth, I would have no problem riding one or an 800 and having a blast, and that would be my new norm. But once you go and experience it, that's why I tell people, if you're guys that get into mountain sledding or they want to sled ski, I tell them get an XM. You'll get a 2015 or a 2016 for $6 or $7 grand. You're in it with your buddy. You can go skiing every weekend. It's cheaper than owning a pass at Whistler. And your parts are available. Parts are cheaper, less gas and oil, all that stuff. And I just said, but don't ride an 850, because as soon as you ride an 850 in the G4 chassis, you won't want your XM anymore. Yeah, but if you just ride it, you know, it's the same with you guys on the trail. You know, you guys go so fast, you're handling, everything is different than what we ask for a sled, but it's no less extreme as far as you're trying to corner and get the bite out of the skis, whether you need it or not, on the groom trails or rough trails, the suspension, like that's super cool as well. And I've ridden, you know, trails as well, and I love it. It's just a different dynamic. And, you know, when you ride a new sled, it's like, you don't want to go back to your old sled, right? It just does it better. It makes us look good, right?
Question for you, Dave, too, if you can mention. I've never seen it in any of the articles I've written or read about the new the 850 turbo. Can you share with how long Skidoo was testing it for? Because I mean, this is a huge thing for a factory to come out with a turbo that's got a 2-year warranty. Like, that's amazing. So that tells you that they've obviously did enough engineering that they have faith in the quality and the durability of the turbo on it. So is there any way that you can share how long they were testing it for? Because I mean, a 2-year factory warranty for a turbo is pretty damn good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the G4 was an idea, which was probably around 2013, it was planned to accommodate a turbo. So you have to remember, things start out very small. So, you know, Rotax, when they do engines, they like the 600 Ace is a perfect example. When the 600 Ace was developed, you know, they said, I actually saw the turbo being made in the factory in Austria. A few years ago, I was in Austria and got to go to the factory, and we saw it right there. They were just making the first ones that were like available that year, which is last year, 2 years ago. And the 600 Ace is like, they started with that, and then they went to the 900 Ace, and then they added a turbo. So they always start smart, right? They want to make reliability, and you know, you always look, things in motorized can fail, and but the reliability of this really matters to consumers, and that really matters to Skidoo. And you know, there's mistakes are always made, I guess. Everybody's always had a story here or there. But when you look at the overall picture, the reliability is there, and it really matters when you're spending as much as we're spending on this equipment. And we're lucky that there's two sides. There's the engineers who are like, yes, we can do this and this and this. And then there's, marketing that has to reel it in, and it has to fit in the cost box, and has to fit in all this. So it's a constant battle. And, just on that G4 chassis, when it was developed, it wasn't good at first. Like when we were riding the XM and you went on to a G4 in the early stages, it sucked. Like you would never ride it. You'd be like, this doesn't do this, and this isn't. But that's why when you see the early, when we introduced it, we had all those yellow ones that came out. This is sort of in the XM, but then when we had these sleds that come out, they have holes all over them because they've moved and tried different things. And these, you don't want to be a tester at Ski-Doo. Okay, those guys are they're 5'10" to 6 feet tall. They're so thin. They wake up in the morning at 5:30, usually earlier. Their job is to go wide open throttle for at least 60 to 80%. So they're not off trail. They're on roads, because you cannot do. I know everybody thinks when they're a good sledder, they're on wide open throttle, but most people are about 10%, and most good riders are 10%. And these guys have to do well beyond that. And they go through 2 tanks of fuel in jerry cans, and then they bring them back at noon, and the other 2 guys go out and do that. And they'll do that for a month. So they'll put on 5,000 to 10,000 kilometers in a month, just pushing,
just testing it, yeah,
and then fixing it. So their job is, they're very interested in it, but I would never want to do that. And they don't talk much, right? They just kind of put their head down, because it's they got a job to do, and it's to tune that to make it the best snowmobile that it could possibly be.
Do you mind if we read some chats here? Robbie Bell wants to know what rack is on the back of that turbo.
So I use the ski and snowboard rack from Ski-Doo, and I've used that for many years, and I helped a little bit develop that. My buddy, Dave B. in Pemberton, builds the Cheetah Factory racing racks, and that's what's on there now, because when we developed the Expert, because of the short tunnel, we didn't have the heavy-duty bumpers available for it, so we can't use the ski and snowboard rack on the new short tunnel 850 naturally aspirated or turbo. So I've kind of gone back to using his racks, which I absolutely love. And that rack is it's called a Link It Up rack, and it clips right into the 4 link brackets on the back of the sled. So I can take it off when I'm just riding and put it on when I'm going sled skiing. But we will also, for I think 2022, we're working on a new ski and snowboard rack that will be pretty awesome.
Right on. That's good information.
Yeah, that is awesome. So that's pretty cool about the turbo and that. That's pretty neat. What's the weight difference between the aspirated and the turbo? It's 10 pounds or something like that, isn't it? 10 or 13 pounds?
Yeah. So there's a few little different things here. We on the 20 and 20 and a half, we put in a regular X shock in the back. The Expert suspension is an upgrade from that, from the Summit X. But we put a regular Summit X rear shock in it because it's lighter. And we did a few things on that machine to make it lighter, so that people who would try it wouldn't feel that it was heavier. You really, it's when you test, it's funny because people go, I should be a tester because I try this and that. And I said, to test, you have to have 8 of the same machines and then try it and then ride it and be able to, it's really hard to distinguish. And that we did that. And then the new Expert, so if you buy an Expert turbo, it has all the Expert suspension, which is a little bit heavier. And I'll tell you, I'm riding them both and back to back. Number one, I'm 145.6. I notice weight. I come from sports where titanium bolts and mountain bikes and all that was, you did all that. It does make a difference. But I didn't notice anything in the turbo. You can feel it a little bit at the beginning. I don't even notice it anymore. And I don't notice a difference when I go from the Expert to my 20 and a half, which has the Summit X shock over the Expert shock, which is more like the Freeride rear shock. Yeah, you can do a little bit more with it, but guys will say, "Oh, that's a crappy shock back there," and it's we tune it for the turbo. It's stiffer because there's more transfer, there's more pressure because there's more lift, more power. But like out of the box, that's what's so amazing about that turbo and just a naturally aspirated 850 is out of the box. You really don't need to spend a lot of money anymore on these snowmobiles. I put a skid plate on, I put tow hooks, I put a ski rack and a bag on it because I ski, but that's the great thing for the consumer. And I tell guys all the time, contrary to what people think, I will do videos on all the accessories that I use and need. And usually those are the things I really feel you need, but I wouldn't buy them if I kind of had to go out tomorrow and buy those, put them on my sled. I only tell guys what I really think they need. But it's amazing to me how many guys will spend lots of money on like cans and all these things where dude, save your money, spend it on gas and oil and more trips so you can go riding. Work less, ride more.
Yeah. Right.
Skidoo makes, you look at their accessory catalog, it's incredible. And I kind of go through there and go, these are the things that I really need that make my experience better. And those are the things that I use. And there's some stuff that I use that is it's a nice thing to have.
That's what I love about Skidoo, though, is their catalog is unreal. Their parts, you could sit there for days. It's like a Christmas catalog, for a snowmobiler. That's the one thing BRP does well is the accessories and just cloth, you name it. They have such an amazing wide variety in that parts catalog. It's amazing.
Yeah, they know how to take our money.
You guys are like myself. We're all cut from the same cloth. We're passionate individuals that love to go out and explore the backcountry, whether it's on trails or in the mountains or wherever, taking your wife out or going with a group or, whoever you're going out with. And the cool thing about Skidoo is I have never, in my career of racing, I've worked with over 50 sponsors, big companies, and I've never met a company like BRP with the passion that everybody has. If you don't have it, you just don't work there. And what's so cool is, they almost pit each other against, it's like if the four of us were here, we have to come up with accessories that we think that people will want. And then they present those accessories to the manager, and the manager goes, yeah, we're going to make that, and that, get to work because there's 200 that we have to come out with, and they have to be, they have to work with this bumper and that bumper and this and that. And you watch them work and come out. And, when we have our club, when we show all that, it's the time when they all come out and get to show everybody all these things. And, we're privileged. Sometimes we have some say in it because we see it early on. But when, every year it's mind blowing what they come out with. And it's, for me, one of the things that I'm truly lucky is I get to hang out with those people. So I get to learn from them, see some of the things, and it's a constant learning. Some people think sponsorship is awesome, just like, hey man, it's riding free. I said nothing's ever for free. I said the privilege I get really is working alongside those people because it helps make me just a better person and also learns in the stuff that I do for my job. In marketing and whatever. In our industry, I don't think there's a more passionate person than the snowmobiler. So everybody who has to work in that industry or be a part of it, look at your show, all that it's all about being passionate.
Yeah, no, it's better words for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah. So we got just a couple more pictures here, Dave. These powder shots are amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this spot that those were taken, this is up on the ice cap, actually, Glacier, but the shots for powder, we're just 15 minutes from my house is a place called Brome Ridge, and they get the most snow in the Sea to Sky corridor. So we can get up to 16 feet of powder in a week. Wow. And I'm talking, you go riding like this all day and shred all these areas, and the next day you go back out, and it's like you can't even see your tracks. So
that's amazing.
We got to get out west. We got to arrange an out west show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Awesome.
No, we do. That's something I want to try before I get too old and out of shape. I'm getting close to that. I want to ride out west. I have to try. I mean, nothing ridiculous like vertical. I'd like to find a bowl, Dave, and just
Yeah. Well, there's two things you got to do. You got to come out here, and you can either go to Grizzly Lodge,
Yes.
which is where I go all the time, and that's an amazing place. And then you can go just up the road to Carl Kuster's place. And Carl's place is it's kind of the mech. It's out of this world because Carl and his, first of all, Carl's background and all the sleds they have and the guides and the people that are there. Your mind will be blown constantly. And then Grizzly Lodge is a lodge that's 36 kilometers in the bush, so it's a different experience. You could go to 3 days of each place, and in a week, you would just, in those 6 days and a fly-in day and a fly-out, you would be on that plane just going, I don't know what just happened for the last 6 days, but I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely got to get out there in the next year or so. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I tell you though, like last year we were drift bashing, and I was getting that little 129 stuck, and I was almost having a heart attack. I'm going like, I can't imagine like mountain riders that go 15 feet and they're stuck and they dig for an hour, and then they go another 10 feet and they're stuck and they dig for an hour. Like it must be just, it must almost kill you,
Well,
we are getting to that age.
I got a good story for you on that. When I was guiding with Ray Mason, who's out of Pemberton, he had 11 guys from Ontario. And I came in, and these guys were all over 6 feet. And I came in, small old me, and I said, hey guys, I'm Dave. And I said, as I always do in the morning, have you guys snowmobiled much? And they're like, oh yeah, we sled all the time. And good snowmobilers from Ontario. And I'm not kidding. That day, it must have snowed 4 feet. Like it was the road. The road was, so deep. Just like going down the road was over the hood, and it was amazing. We had guys stuck on the road everywhere. And then I remember we caught up to the group. I was at the back, tail guiding. We got these 3 guys off on the road, and we get into this zone. It's a flat, big, open field. And I remember riding in, and their other 8 guys were just literally chest deep on their sleds, and they were all stuck everywhere. And when you get stuck like that, you got to go around and make a road, because if you dig them out, they're just going to get stuck again. So I just kind of rode around them all. Like I kind of did a bunch of turns and powder, and then made enough roads that when we could get them out, I go to the road, right, the little your trail that you made. And I just stopped. They took my helmet off, and they said, "How are you doing that?" And it's no different if I came riding with you guys. I'd be off the back, and you'd be having to wait for me in the corners, because I just couldn't do the speed, because I just don't do it. And I wouldn't trust myself until I spent a lot of time. And it's no different. Anybody can do it. It's about taking you to the right area and being safe and giving you all those little tips. And no one has to be scared to come out west. There's a learning curve. You're going to get stuck. You might get frustrated, but I guarantee at the end of the day, you're going to be like, just like if I came riding with you, I'd probably be tired. Kind of like a little bit of over the head, just like, wow, this was fast. I couldn't keep up. And then at the end of the day, when you're having a beer and dinner, you're like, I can't wait to do it all again tomorrow. Right.
Yeah, and then tomorrow you'd be passing us all, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. He says it so modestly too, doesn't he?
Yeah, I know. But that is amazing, though. It's true, though, right? It's like night and day, the difference between the two, right? But I mean, you watch your videos of anyone that rides out west, and it's that you got to be in good shape. I mean, you can't be, I don't know. I think you got to be in a hell of a lot better shape mountain riding than you do. I mean, not knocking flatland riders, but I'm just saying, like, you'd have to be in really good shape to be doing what you guys do.
Yeah, the better shape you're in, it's kind of funny, right? I raced for 20 years in human-powered sport. So I was doing 20-day races and 24-hour mountain bike races. I was extremely fit when I started sledding, which helped me because I was useless as a sledder, but I was fit, so I didn't get as tired. And it's kind of funny, when I was racing, I always said to myself, man, I wish I was a snowboarder, because those guys just go huck big jumps and get paid way more money, and they just party all the time. And I love to party. And it's kind of funny, when I got into sledding and kind of started working with skidoo, I was like, dude, I'm in my magic sport. I don't have to do anything. You just go ride. And it's actually funny how, since working with skidoo, I've gone back into more of a training regime, because you got to be fit. And the fitter you are as you get older, the fitter you are cardiovascular wise, the more you can have fun in the mountains. Like, you don't want to come out here and be wheezing and tired, because then you're just not having fun. Let's face it.
Right.
So the fitter you are, and you don't have to do crazy stuff. It's just that you just have to be, just a little bit. The fitter you are, the better, more fun you're going to have. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome.
That's right. That's cool. Bobby's pretty quiet. Are we stealing the show from
No,
him?
you guys are good. Just
Sorry, guys.
listen
I'm
to.
talking too much here, but I just had a bunch of
Not
questions.
at all.
It's just I'm so just enamored by the fact that I got this guy on my show.
Right.
Hey, well, I will say this too. One of the biggest things I missed this year is all the shows being canceled. So for me, and I say this, it comes from the bottom of my heart. I am just like everybody out there who's watching your show, all you guys. I consider myself to be the luckiest kid. And one thing I love is going to shows and talking to all the riders out there and learning their stories and trading. If I can give a tip, that's a big thing for me. There's way better riders than me, and all the guys on the team and girls on the team have just a huge amount of wealth and have been in the sport for a lot longer than I have. But it's so great to talk to all the people. Heydays is number one. I've been to the Toronto show a couple times. It is like, it's so, when we saw you there, it was so amazing. It was a hard one to miss last year because I got a conflict in schedule and I had to go to Idaho, and I missed that one. I was super bummed. Number one, too, because I like going to the Lone Star Cafe because we don't have one of those in BC anymore. But the show is so good, and all the people are so passionate. It's like, sometimes when you're in BC, everybody's like, yeah, I know what it's like. It's good. I can't wait for this. And a little bit of too cool for school. And you go to the Toronto show and everybody's just like, yes, I can't wait. I'm going out west and I'm doing this. And we bought this new sled and I'm doing, it's amazing. And the amount of the crowd that's there is cool. And that's the biggest thing I miss. And that how we're at Skidoo trying to, how do we capture this? Because we want to talk to our audience and we want to be out there and we want to be doing all this fun stuff, right? And it's not just riding, it's all the stuff before, setting up sleds, getting sleds to customers, all that stuff that's kind of like falling off the truck a little bit as we, deal with what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah. Here's a question from Colin, Dave, and have you, when Muskoka Freerider Matt was out there last winter, did you ride with him?
I didn't, because I wasn't involved with that project. I know of Matt. I've known him for a while. When I was at the Toronto show, I met him. Amazing rider, young up-and-coming rider. I don't want to say up-and-coming because he's already treading, and he spends his time out here, and great guy. And he's a guy that people from out east can look up to or emulate. Of like, he works really hard. He loads up his truck, heads out west, buys a sled, and then spends, lives out here for a month or two, and has his friends in the zones he likes to go to, and does his thing and creates great content. And that's what it's all about, right? And his bit that we just did, Skidoo just shared. There's two other riders that with a project that we're doing, and they all got to go to the photo shoot, and they got to ride the new turbo and the other sleds. And while we at photo shoot, it was a real hard thing because photo shoot can be, I don't know, it's amazing, but it's challenging. You get cold because you're standing around taking shots and videos and all this. And so we were like, do we really want to bring people to this? And whenever Skidoo does something, they always do it right. So they had, they got the right amount of hanging out, doing this, trying the new stuff, and then showing everything that goes into the background of that, which is having dinner at the end of the day and, cheersing over beers over the shots you got. And you never know what stuff's going to look out like until it comes out for the next year's launch, right? Which is another cool time. So he's going to get some really good press off of being involved, and to his credit, he deserves it. He's a great sledder. Did a really cool thing for the contest, and that's awesome.
That's cool. Robbie Bell just giving you a shout out there, Dave. He says he loved all your Instagram lives this spring. See, you keep us going here, buddy.
Right on. Well, hey, for an old kid, it's Instagram, anytime I get more likes on there, it's always good for the marketing people, because it's like, hey, how's this dinosaur? How am I going to get more likes? But I appreciate any feedback people have. They can hit me up on Instagram. I'm usually pretty good in a day or so getting back to them with questions. If I don't have the answer, I'll pass you off to someone who will know the answer. And it goes both ways. I appreciate all the people who are on there commenting and liking, and it just fuels, and if there's any things that people want videos on, like I love doing that stuff, and I want to do stuff that matters to riders. I don't just try to do stuff for fluff and just to get it out there. I want to do things that people really want to know, and a lot of it is just like how to save your money so that you can go riding more, right? And I'm a true believer in why I talk about stuff is you want to buy things once. We've all done that. We're not really good. We go buy this, and then we go a month later, which I should have spent more and got that. Now I got to sell this and buy that. So you end up spending more. I'm a firm believer in buy it once first, the right thing, whether it's less or more or over the top expensive. It really makes it, if it makes your experience better, or even if it's a color that you prefer and it's $200 more, sometimes, like, hey man, I buy stuff off of color. I don't buy ugly stuff just because it's cheaper. Sometimes I do, but not always. If it's a color I like, I say go for the color and don't worry about the $200, because in another month you're not going to be thinking about the $200. You're going to be thinking about how much you like that color or whatever you got.
That's right. That's right. Mr. Snowman 427, you got to show this one to your boss, Dave. Ski-Doo is lucky to have a guy like Dave for sure. 3 exclamation marks.
Yeah, I cut and paste and I send those every day to my boss. As I say in my job, it's like I'm a pink slip away every day from.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, listen, do you guys want to play a game? Games now?
I think so.
How about that we got about 39 people in the live chat right now between the 2 channels, Revrider550 and Mudbrats. So we've Dave's got this game on Instagram. If anyone doesn't follow Dave Norona on Instagram, look him up. His channel is a hoot, and he'll get you through all those boring days with that hot sun out. And but he started this new thing called Do You Know It? DOO, and I love the game. I was hooked the very first time I seen it, and you're sitting there yelling at the screen because some of the questions these guys are answering, you're going, it's this.
Yeah.
So we're gonna play a game with the audiences. If everybody wants to play, just chat there that you want to play this game, because we're gonna make it first to answer wins the prize. And when I say first to answer, it's got to be the first people that I see on I've got a little live chat stream over here going up from the streaming software. So it's not necessarily the first one that YouTube, it's the one when it pops up on here, like Mike Ludwig just popped up. Exactly why I snow check my Indy. If I'm spending the money, I want the color I want. So that just popped up. As soon as we see the right answer there, you win the prize. Okay. So
these are, I'm not just whipping these out. These are actually the real questions from the show that we didn't use. We haven't used yet. So, and we've done the show. So look for that on the Skidoo channels. I'll be sharing it, and it is a great contest. It's, we get some pretty good. We get some great. There's our customers are, as I say, some of the best and passionate people in the world. So I love it. And so should I just read out the question?
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like some people are going, let's go. Full Send University, he says, let's go. So
this is round 1. The questions are or should we go for a harder?
No, let's us 3 do round 1 because they're so stupid easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's put round 2 questions to the other people, and then us 3, Bobby, Richard, and Gary, we're going to chime in with our names.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah.
Round 1. This is a true or false. Is the Summit model designed for deep snow use? Is that true or false?
True. Gary, true.
Nailed it.
Holy shit.
Let's go to Red.
You need that butt there, Jerry.
Yeah, we need buzzers. Okay, go ahead. Second one.
Second one is yes or no. You can legally ride 4 people on a sled at the same time.
Richard, false.
There you go. You know you. I like you know what. I like you guys already because you didn't know that, and you're like, yeah, you can put.
I'm sitting there thinking, how many have I gotten on a
can't be
Sea-Doo
right.
before? I've jammed 4 people on a Sea-Doo, but never a sled. So,
Yeah.
but, I mean, those
It's-
little sleds. What are they
It's
now?
not a
Dave?
motorcycle in
165?
India, guys. You can't
Yeah,
put your
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that the motorcycle in Mexico with the whole family on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it is no. Technically, they're designed for one person or the 2 up.
Yeah.
And
We got 1 and 1. Bobby.
Yeah.
so, which of these sleds is known to give riders that skidoo feeling? Is it Backcountry X? A. Is it the TKN Banker? B. Or C. The Snowstorm X?
Richard. A.
Backcountry X. There you go, Richard.
Yeah,
Come on,
if you-
guys.
no, well, I was waiting for all of the above. But then,
I
like,
was thinking too.
like that skidoo feeling I get on my 2009.
Right?
You got to rework that question.
It's the tagline.
You gotta
Jerry.
say-
You gotta follow
you
the
gotta
tagline.
say-
It's the models.
Yeah, but you got to say it's like the 1969 Nordic, the 2009 MXZ, or the 2018 XRS Backcountry X. And D, all of the above. Okay, go ahead. Next one.
I got
Trish,
I got a question now for the people watching the show. And
okay, here it is.
they're going to comment on this. Okay.
First, so
Multiple choice, there's an A, B, or C. And the question is, in what year was the Rev platform introduced? Is it A, 2003, B, 2000, or C, 2005?
I
first
answered
answer. First answer. Don't
Well,
you
let's
didn't
go, guys.
blow it for them.
No, I didn't. No. I'm just sat there with hand gestures. What's going on here? Let's see. Well, remember they're on delay, right? So
I know. Streeters was the last person that answers the last thing. We got a lot of activity there.
Yeah.
What do we get?
Come on, pop
Nope.
one up.
Nope.
Nothing yet.
no.
It's coming up.
They're
Come
all
on, guys. It was the beaver tail.
So-
Come on. Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Wow.
Wow, man, are we dealing with a bunch of dummies here?
What's going on, guys? The beaver tail. I thought we were
Streeters
enthusiasts.
Garage. Oh, who has B? Was it B? Was 2003?
No.
No.
It was
A was 2003, which is correct.
okay. So yeah, so we had.
Oh, so we had.
Oh, wait a minute! No, sorry. There's more ahead of it. Colin got it right.
Yeah, I couldn't see it.
Yeah,
'cause
sorry.
it's there.
So Cohen's going to get a skidoo backpack.
nice.
Nice.
And hey, Cohen, you've been drinking beer too much all summer, so we're going to
Well,
send you.
don't. We need to give that one to someone else. Have
What's
you got
that?
another question? Have you got another question for the?
Yeah,
the
we'll do,
chat?
should we do another one? I got another bag. This is for a bigger bag.
I think that should go to me for answering the 2 questions on the panel here. No?
No. You're
On
you
your
already
Polaris
said how
with a
much.
skidoo bag?
Let me look for
Yeah.
a. Now,
The first one that I see, okay, because it didn't come up in order, so I'm just going to go first one I see on my screen. So I did it by order last time. That's why I thought it was Streeters, but it wasn't. There was someone ahead of them. So right now, go ahead. The next one that pops up with this right answer.
This is a good one. Okay. In the Skidoo series of Ace 4-stroke engines, what does ACE stand for? Is it A, awesome cutting edge, B, advanced combination of excellence, or C, advanced combustion efficiency?
Come on, Dave. You can do
I
better
want
than
to
this.
answer this. I so want to answer this.
I'm just
I had
waiting for
to.
that chat to pop up.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the pop. I thought Neil deGrasse Tyson had answered, but it's just an alert that he's got a new
Pretty
video
sure it's
out.
awesome cutting edge. Is it awesome cutting edge?
Can we change that name? Can we just say it's
Hey, we
whatever it
got
is?
an answer, guys. We got answers. We got
There
answers.
we go, Mike. Here we go. Six string Brian was the first to say C.
Yep.
So
He's
he's
right.
got the prize.
Nice.
So guys, I want you to send your addresses to fan photo. Here, I gotta get rid of the chat so you can see this.
And then you're going to give me those 3, and I'm going to mail them out.
I'll give you the addresses. Send your address to fanphoto@mudbrats.com. And congratulations, guys! You guys stumped the 5th grader.
And just so you know, because I'm going to be mailing them out, and it comes out of my budget, you can expect these prizes in 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah, and it'll be collect too.
Yeah,
It'll be,
it'll be as fast as Canada Post gets on their snowmobile.
Oh my gosh, you're setting a horse and buggy, Dave.
I'm just excited that Jesse's going to be cleaning my sled this winter when we ride.
Yeah.
You know,
that stuff is great. That XRS polish stuff is amazing.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's
good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of nerds at XPS, and I always say that with the utmost respect. I call everybody a nerd who's at the class in the top of their field, and the guys at XPS, like they the stuff is not cheap. Like when you talk about oil and stuff, I've gone through the factory where they do all the oil, and it's the funny thing is they spend all this money on the product rather than advertising for it. So it's funny when guys will go, oh, that oil's way better and way cheaper. I go, yeah, if you knew what they put in it, it's way cheaper. And then they spend about $20 to $30 marketing it to you. And
do you have one more prize? Do you have one more, another skipping rope there by chance?
Yeah, well, why don't we just do one of the bands? I got another band.
Okay, let's do that. Here's my question to the Brat gang and Brat pack. I want you to tell me, is this a hood off of a Rev chassis? Is it the hood off of a Rev XP chassis? Or is it the hood off of a Rev Gen 4 chassis? Or is it the hood off a Rev XS chassis?
You want to question together? It's hard to see, is it? Yeah. Nice. Very nice.
What chassis is this off of? The Rev XP, the Rev XS, or the Rev Gen 4?
We got an answer from Jesse.
No one's answered it yet.
No. Yep, there you go.
I don't have it now. It's not on my screen. You don't win unless I see it. That's the rules.
Steve Jones.
No, Jeremy got it. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Rev XS. It's a Rev XS.
Yeah, so it was Jesse way up there.
Yeah, it was Jesse. He is way up there. Yeah, Jesse Buckman got it.
Yeah.
Rev XS. You know how many people don't know that?
Yeah.
That's
and
pretty cool.
What is that from?
Is that a beer opener as well?
I bet you I could open a beer. You want me to go grab a beer and try it? Hold on. Hang on a second.
Dave, question for you. You said you had a tour of the Rotax plant in Austria. Was that right?
Yes.
Yeah. How was that? It was pretty neat. So you've seen some pretty wild technology. Because I heard it's probably one of the best engine testing facilities in the world.
You would be correct on that. Hey, did you guys see the video recently that got just like a couple of days ago, where the guy blew up there that I don't know what truck it was, the turbo they had it on the dyno up on the machine, the whole engine blew up out of the truck.
Oh, I didn't see that.
You guys
share that. Share it.
I'm not because I came from human powered stuff. I'm not a big a motor guy. Like I never my dad didn't take a car apart with me or the lawnmower and teach me how to do that. Even though my dad was electronic engineer, he never really did that with me. I have, so I'm kind of privileged to get to go to these things. And one of the things I thought when I went to Rotex is, man, I'm so lucky to go through here, and I had a blast. But I was like, in a way, I wanted to bring every one of our customers. Nice. I wanted to bring every one of our customers through that factory. And yeah, that's good. I like it. Here's why. When they produce an engine, you just have to imagine most of the parts they make, they crack, they separate the rods, and the way they have machines to do all this stuff. And you have to think there's a guy who I met. he plans everything. So when they build an engine, they have to have all the parts for that engine before they can even start building it. Okay.
Right.
Because when they go on the assembly line, they can't run out of parts. It's not that you just shut it down for whatever. That thing's going.
Yeah.
And because it's Austria, the machine is the line is going along, and they've sort of timed each job. It's like 2 minutes. So each person has a job that roughly takes about 2 minutes. So they grab some bolts, they put these things on, they're responsible for that. And I was like, wow, what happens if a guy drops a bolt? So there's a line manager, and if somebody drops a bolt, then he's behind a little bit. So he has to get that bolt and redo it or whatever. And if it goes to a next stage, they might need like help. So they have this like help button, and the whole music changes to the Beatles song "Help." I need some help, and then
That's awesome.
And so then the floor guy will come, and it's just all to keep this thing moving. And it's not moving super fast, although these guys are efficient, so it seems kind of easy. But you just see like what they're doing all day, or for that length of time, and it's mind blowing. And it's just how clean it is, how organized, and how smooth everything runs. And yeah, I mean, when you're watching the dynos and what they're doing, and it from everything, it's right all in there. And for 3 days, I had the backstage pass to go anywhere, and there's still some places we weren't allowed to go, but we tried to get.
I remember an episode on one of the snowmobile shows. I can't remember on which, and it's like they don't let anybody in there. Like, it's super secretive. But I heard it's an amazing facility. So to have that experience is pretty amazing, Dave. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was. It was actually even hard for people like that are kind of in with Skidoo to get in there. Like, so they're starting to, they're very secretive about the stuff. They're always pushing the limits. So it was an honor, and it was very cool. I met a lot of really amazing people. Like the thing is you've got these talented people that are like, they're running those companies. Okay, these are like CEOs, and they are super talented. They have this blood of motorsports in their veins, and it's really cool to go in there and meanwhile Carl and I are running around trying to steal turbo parts, right?
That's awesome.
I could see him in there, right? Like a kid in a candy store, right?
Yeah, they were literally putting bells on us at the end because they didn't know where we were going to go next, but at least they could hear us and warn people that we were coming.
That's awesome.
That's
cheers to all the American viewers here. This here, look at that, 5%.
5%. Yeah, I don't have beer with me. I don't know why, but
we're not sponsored by these guys, so unless they want to,
The best way to start a sponsorship is at least show them what you're drinking, right?
Yeah.
So, Dave, have you got? Because I'm starting to see all the the ambassadors and guys all over the place are starting to get their. Have you gotten your sleds for this year yet? I know.
Kind of an interesting thing this year with what we did is we had our turbo. We all had a turbo last year that we got in January, and I said to my boss, I said, because of all this stuff, like BRP did some pretty cool stuff from the very top down of saving money for the company because things were shut down, all this stuff. They had to let some people go. And so I just said, you know what? I'll run my turbo next year and forfeit one of my new turbos to save money. And and that doesn't always work, right? Because sometimes the second year sled needs stuff. So the cost of that can outweigh of the new sled, selling that one and then getting a new one and all that sort of stuff. So we actually decided as a company and our team to we're only going to run one new sled, and we're going to run our turbo from last year. Now, the way I looked at it is this is great because people always think, hey, we're spoiled. Of course, nothing ever happens to your sleds. You're always running new stuff. Well, not this year. I'm running a turbo that has 2,000 plus miles that I put every one of those miles on. Now I'm going to run that for the second year. So you'll start to see now videos of me pulling it out of bringing it out of my garage and, cut the miles that you guys do in a weekend.
Well, no, that's interesting. I always wanted to know that. So on an average, sorry, how many kilometers or miles for both Canadians and Americans would you do in an average year in the mountains?
Yeah, between 3,500 kilometers to 5,000 kilometers.
Wow, that's pretty damn cheap.
That's a lot for mountain.
Yeah, I put 4,700 on my trail sled last year. I thought that was pretty good.
And you know, it's funny, right? Because where I ride,
he only went 300 feet though. Dave only went 300 feet.
It's kind of funny because some years it'll be less, and some guys will put on way more. But where I live, I ride up a 10-kilometer road, and I'm in the powder. As opposed to if you go closer to Whistler and Pemberton, you can ride 50K into the zone and 50K out. So you put on 100K of just trail, right? And our trails are nothing like your trails. They're bumpy and you can't go as fast because you can go over the edge and die. So it's yeah. So they're mountain miles. So, I never try to, it's not a bragging thing. I go now off of quality rather than quantity. And I'm very lucky I get lots of kilometers or miles in a quality format. And, I'm out most days because I sled ski, and people kind of go, why do you still ski? Isn't sledding rad? I go, yeah, sledding is rad, but I like sledding when it's really deep. And when it only snows about, this much, 10 or 15 centimeters, it's okay, but that's when skiing is unreal. And so, a lot of guys won't go out on those days. They'll save up for the deeper days, and then they'll cut out work on that deep day. Well, I'm out pretty much every day, and I'll go sled skiing on that, where you're not putting a lot of miles on it, but you're still out in the backcountry using your sled, but also skiing. And you're doing, what I love about my life is I tend to do the things that work for that day. So if it's a good day for skiing, I ski. If it's a good day for sledding, I sled. And that's how I kind of do things, because I'm not under a race schedule where I have to do a certain thing to get to a result or something like that.
What size paddle track is on that sled, the turbo you have, Dave?
There's only one way to go, and that's the 3-inch. Okay,
so that was my next, leading up to my next question. That must be a rough 50 kilometers there back if it's like not on mountain, or is it deep enough that it's not? Because I've heard that those deep lug tracks like that on anything other than the mountain is kind of rough trail riding, but I guess you're not trail backed.
I'll answer your question, and I'll also help consumers on when you see lugs tearing off tracks, okay. And why it is so all over the map, meaning that like if three of you, one might have throw lugs and the other two don't, and I'll explain why. So I don't know the difference, because a 3-inch track is kind of all I've ridden in a 2.5-inch track. So I don't really notice. The snow is soft. We don't groom like you guys do, and they're not icy. They don't set up the way they do, so they're pretty soft. You have to remember, when you look at a track, it's spinning extremely fast. Okay, so say you're going 50 miles an hour and that track is spinning, so 80 kilometers an hour. You're going fast, right? Not fast for you guys, but to ride up to 80 to 100K on our trails to get to that's pretty fast, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're rough and corners, and they don't really groom it to be speed. It's just groomed so it isn't all whooped out. And when your track goes around your driver and the rear wheel, it accelerates, okay? So when your track's going along the top and the bottom, it's actually doing 80. But when it goes around here, the driver and the rear wheels, it actually can be going not double, but way, way faster. So what happens is those long lugs, when they go around, is they actually, if you slow them down, so they go like this, but they whip so fast that they kind of bend back and then accelerate around.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're a 3-inch lug and you're on an icy trail and it's sitting up like this, that's not the case. Most times your track is a little bit embedded into the snow, but the difference between that and that is huge to the lug and the heat that comes with the track. So why you see some guys, it isn't great to have a 3-inch track and be doing 100K an hour, especially on an icy trail. But why lots of times I go 100K an hour down a trail. I've never torn a lug off of one of my tracks. But the reason why I get away with it is most of the time I'm in soft snow, so that most of the lug is buried. But if it isn't, it gets a lot hotter and it whips faster, and that can cause over time cracking and then a lug to rip. And then a guy thinks, well, that was a warranty failure, when it wasn't. They're traveling way too fast at a speed for that. And you have to remember now, you guys know best, when you compare the sleds for the trail, there's a big difference between tracks and all that. And you have to be really honest with, everybody wants to say, oh, I go off trail all the time. But really, there may be 70% on the trail and 30 or 20% off trail. Whereas they go, when they talk to me sometimes, they're like, oh, 50% I'm off the trail. And I'm not there to judge them, that whatever they tell me. But if you choose your sled for doing that and you do something different, things aren't going to be they're not going to last as long probably, right? And it's the same for the mountain rider. So that's a little bit of an explanation why guys, you get it all the time. Like, they wouldn't warranty this track. There's clearly a problem here. And it's like, actually, there's not a problem when you compare how many tracks are out there, but we do see that. And that is the reason why you will see that and why it happens on a 1-ply track, because you want the track to be lighter. So we now make a heavier duty track that someone could order, but of course no one wants it because it's heavier. So you have to, and if tracks were $1,000, we wouldn't even have this conversation. But they're $2,000 to $2,200 installed, so they're not a cheap item. So I tell people, like, treat it like as it's like if you put new rubber on your car. Are you going to go burn out everywhere? If you're going to, some cars, yeah, you are. But if you're paying for that rubber, you're more likely to take it easy a little bit. And so I try to, it's not the line that we tow from Skidoo. They never tell us that stuff. But again, I talked to Carl Kuster. He's a master at this kind of stuff. And he teaches me a lot of that stuff. And again, it's about being efficient. The more you're efficient on a machine, is the better you're going to be. The less energy you're going to expel, the more energy you have overall for the day. Again, why being fit is better than not being fit. It's also about being efficient. If you talk to Carl, right, he's like, don't ever touch anything with your gloves. Like, he never goes into a cabin. In the mountains, when he eats lunch, he won't go into the cabin. He might go in to say something. He goes right back outside, because going into a cabin makes you wet and sweaty, and then you go out and you get cold. Now, I'm not saying I don't do that. I go in there and eat lunch, and, I want to be with where the people are. And not that Carl doesn't, but he is he's a thinker of that. And it's why he'll have one pair of gloves, one pair of goggles. He's super light, because he knows that when you touch stuff and they get wet, we touch our sled, it's hot, and then it gets wet, and you get cold. And, you're grabbing on your hand warmers. So the more efficient you are, the more efficient you look after your machine, the least expense you're going to pay for those fixes, let's say.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and it's it's the honest answer of just like, hey man, I've done lots of stupid stuff too, and not to say that it's stupid going fast down trail, but you have to be kind of, there is a little bit of a responsibility. I said, when I'll send you the video of that truck, they're taking this turbo diesel up to like 3,000 horsepower, and the engine blows right out of the truck. I mean, lucky the guys that were driving on the dyno are okay, but we have a picture, and the engine, I'll send you the picture, the engine is above the truck. Like, someone got a picture and it's all fire. And I sent it to Skidoo, and I just said, as everybody who wants warranty says, he's like, I was just backing it off my deck.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll send you that picture. You can use it as your fan photo for next.
That's awesome.
It's pretty rad.
Dave, one more thing. I got one more question for you. The technical thing I was reading in Snow Tech, which was kind of cool, and I know probably a lot of people know about it. But the belt temperature sensor, that's kind of new technology, is it not? Or has it been around for a while? Because I thought that was a really cool thing, especially for mountain riders. Can you explain a little bit about that too?
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a super cool thing. It actually has come from Can-Am. We've had it in Can-Am for a long time, actually. because they're also a CVT clutch, so it gets hot, and especially when they're riding them in the dunes and the desert racing, what'll happen is they can blow a belt, and if you blow a belt, now you got to change it. So now you're out of your machine and you're losing time on the race course. So they have this belt heat sensor that will let you know when it's getting to a level that it could, it could be detrimental to the belt, and then they just slow down a bit, and then the air cools it, and then they can go again. So that saves way more time than stopping. And so it was put into, we had it in some early models, and that people wouldn't even know about it. And then it's in the ECU, and people can kind of check, they can see it, and they've done a lot of testing. It was never to hinder people, like to say stop. It was merely because when in 17, there was obviously belt issues. And we didn't see it in a lot of machines. We saw it in BC and Sweden, 2 snow conditions that have a lot of moisture, a lot of different things. And also when that G4 came out, before on the XM, if you pinned it, you would eventually just get stuck. But the G4 was so good that you could just keep pinning it, and the machine would just be like, "Whoa!" And any sane person would go, okay, the pistons are gonna like fly out of the engine in a minute. But again, because there's so many amazing riders out there, they're gonna push it to the end, and they were blowing belts, and it started to take almost the thing that people wanted to do it, right? And they wanted to show that if you burn belts, because the first comment is, well, if you're good, you're blowing belts, and if you don't, you're not good. So of course everybody wants to blow belts because they don't want to say they're not good. And so it kind of almost fueled the fire, and it was way bigger than we saw with warranty, because we weren't actually warrantying a lot of belts. There were once you had the problem, it didn't matter if you put another belt in, you were going to have the problem again, right? It isn't going to go away with just putting a new belt in. So it was more of the same people. And this is where it's come from. And of course, you get the comments. I see all the comments, and I kind of take them personally because I read every comment, and I feel bad because I know the engineers, and I go, they came out with this. Why didn't they just fix the problem? And it's like, well, now we don't have any warranty belts. And this is another step in the direction that they're going, hey, we want to make you feel even better about it, that we're going to put in this heat sensor. And, to be honest, I've never set mine off. Most guys haven't. You can try and sure set it off. It works on 2 parameters. One is your throttle control. So think of it as a video game. The longer you hold your throttle and wide open, it adds points. And eventually, if you don't stop in a certain amount of time, it'll give you a warning that you're wide open the whole time.
You're getting that belt up.
Yeah. And just take a break. Just take a rest for whatever, 3 or 5 minutes. Watch your buddy hit the climb, and it'll be back to normal. And the other one is actually the sensor, which is the heat in the clutch area. And it isn't a laser. They thought about a laser, but the problem with that is it gets covered with dirt, and then it isn't very accurate. So it just measures the heat, and it works under the same. And they kind of work in tandem to give you, and they'll just give you an audible sound. So it won't cut anything out. Like if you hear the sound and you keep pinning it, you can keep pinning it and go right through it. Now, you probably and could very well blow a belt. The problem is when you go to warranty, they might ask to hook your sled up to buds, and then they'll see that, the belt monitor was on for 15 minutes, and you just and
I throw again another technology though that's amazing. That's going to come in, and probably eventually, unless it's been patented by BRP. But I mean, that's another amazing thing, and it's going to help with warranty and like you said, abuse, right? So that's pretty cool.
I think it's like in 2018 they did the 4-year warranty. They addressed the problem, they fixed it, and they went, we're backing it with 4 years, and it's transferable, the warranty. And then they've also improved the belt. The new BRP belt. The BRP belts were always good, but the new BRP belt that people are running on the Mountain 850s, my friend Adam, he has a Summit 165, and he doesn't have any more issues. His is a 17. He put in the new mounts and the updated 18 kit, right? The clutch kit from the 18, the vented, the secondary with the vent on it. He runs the new belts, and no issues anymore.
Yeah, so it's a really expensive fix. Hats off to Ski-Doo first of all and The problem is, and you saw this with Arctic Cat when their monorail was breaking, that people were left and they didn't have monorails. It's like, rarely can they fix it within that year? Because what you don't want to do is fix something and then break again, because now how's your confidence? So they have to kind of figure out, why is it breaking? Where is it breaking? Under what conditions is it breaking? And then how to fix that. And then send it out to the consumer. And that doesn't take days. That we're talking weeks and months, and the riding area thing can be done. And so what we did is, and again, it's not popular. I was the guy releasing it because I just wanted people to know. And I got the hit for it, and I don't mind that people, I'm not joking. I had guys threatening to damage my truck. I had people steal belts out of my machine when they were on the mountain. And if I was sled skiing, I had belts taken out of my machine. Stuff I don't really talk about, but it was because people felt an ownership, and they could take it out on me, and that's fine, whatever. But when we did it, and I wasn't popular, but I said, if you have this problem, the best thing you can do is phone your dealer and let your dealer know. Because what happens is, every time it comes in, the dealer phones customer service or phones their guy and makes a claim. And every claim that comes in, that's how we know how many there are. If there's no claims, then there's obviously no warranty, right? So if the numbers start to come in and we go, okay, well, here in this demographic and this is happening, then we start to sort of piece the puzzle together. Why is this happening here? Why is it happening just in this area? But in Idaho, where they have deep days, it's not even happening. So what I said is, why you want to make that claim is because when the fix comes, they're going to come to you first. They're not going to help me, who had no belt problems on my 17th. And I did blow a belt on my 17, and then I was like, I know what, it didn't inspire confidence, because I said, oh, is this going to happen to me now? And am I going to blow belts? And I never did blow a belt. Didn't put the new motor mounts in until I sold the machine. But then you got people who would get that motor mount, but then you wanted, all of a sudden, if you owned a 17 and you had no problems, you're like, well, I want the new motor mounts. There was no reason to really give them to you because you weren't having a problem, and the machine was totally fine, and that was in the majority of them. So you get, it's like, if you have to give the parts out, it is expensive. That comes from somewhere. And so it's not that they don't want to give them to people. It's like, well, we want to deal with the people that need it. And then we can focus on that money to make it better for everybody. But we didn't see that. Everybody was like, no, I want and so you get, it's very, very tricky. And every company goes through it. I think what Skidoo does best is they do it quickly, and they try to do it the best they can. And I'm sure every manufacturer, someone from there would say that, and I would agree with that. They really don't want problems to happen. They're not trying to say, haha, you bought one of those, who cares? You'll forget about us in 2 years when you want a new machine. People don't forget. They remember those things and how you handle them. So they have a whole team of people to deal with that. And, another one was the S module, and we had a few of those break, and the numbers were like, seriously, we had, I want to say the number was between 40 and 60 people, okay, of all the sleds sold. So these were
that's
that hit something, or you had to hit something. The S module would not crack if you didn't hit something. They were like jumping, because you have all these guys jumping and whatever. It never was that. It was just, it got hit in a certain area. And because it happened to Tony, and he's like, I didn't hit anything, but he did, but not hard. And it broke. And how they dealt with it was, what happens to most people if you get that, you claim it on insurance, because it's an expensive fix. It's not expensive, the parts, but you got to tear everything apart. Yeah. So what they did was, if you could do it under insurance too, it goes to insurance, and we don't get it back. So we can't look at it to see what the problem is. We can't fix something we don't get back.
It's kind of a catch-22.
Right. So what we did is we went to customers and said, look, if you can take all the parts, suspension, A-arms, and put them back on a new S or E module, that person will help them. We'll take theirs back, and we'll give them that part. And they still got to pay a certain amount, because they hit something. Even though they didn't hit it hard, they still hit a rock or a stump. And what you didn't see is all the people that were like, oh, I didn't hit something hard too. And then you see the picture, and the suspension is like bent out like this. Both A-arms are like this. And he's like, yeah, my S module broke. And I was like, dude, yeah, you hit something very hard. And it's not, I don't want to be mean on the consumer. That's what you get. And that's how difficult it can be. And until they got all those parts back and started to piece, that's why when the fix came out, it was just a simple plate that went in there, because it was only one way that it was hit. It was strong in every other way. It was just hit it right and the skis were the right way and it would put the energy right in there and it could crack. So then that's why that piece was then added to the next SE modules that came out. And then moving forward, it was graduated into the module itself and then beefed up as well, because again, they don't want to give anybody, oh, is this going to happen to me? So that's the same thing with the fins on the secondary and the new belt and all that stuff. It's really to go above and beyond. Like, they're spending more money than they need to, but they really want to give that rider confidence, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah. Well, like you said, though, every manufacturer has that. Last year, both my buddy of the 850, the temp sensors were issues, and they were known. And it literally was. Mine went at the end of me riding at the end of the seasons, and I went 4,700 kilometers, and people were having them go in 10, 15, 20 kilometers. I was just lucky, but it did end up going, and it was a known issue, and Polaris was aware of it. And there was a guy I can't remember his name, on Facebook that was making these, mass producing them in New York, and everyone and their mother was buying them. I had them. My buddy on his 850 XCR had them, and we just had them sitting in our back, because literally, if you got stuck on the trail, you were going home in limp mode. Like, you couldn't go, so it was one of those things. And they were well aware of it, and they ended up coming up with a fix near the end of the season. So every manufacturer has those little, the consumer literally is I'm not going to say guinea pig, but you're the test module. And that goes for any automotive business, that motorcycle industry, the car industry. When you start changing models and coming up with new engines and new designs, there's only so many hours they can test and put into them. So you're going to have that with all the manufacturers, right?
Yeah, we don't. When I see something happen with another manufacturer, none of us go, "Oh, awesome." You kind of go, "Oh boy, like, I'm glad that's not us," because I know that's a hard thing to deal with. It's funny, right? We all have one of these phones, and it's funny, you buy one and you could buy an 11 now, and a month later, what happens? You get an update, and it happens overnight. Your phone gets, we don't have that with sleds. In some cases you do. There's things we can add if you bring it in and service it and whatever. But so, I don't want people also think that, we came out with a G4 like last week and we're just releasing it to the public and it's just being thrown out there. And that is not the case. But there are certain things that you just can't test for, and you don't know until you put it in a wide variety of cross-section of people that like to tear it apart or do this or that. And that's where you see some of these things. And of course, if something happens, nobody tells you that, oh yeah, I did this and I shouldn't have done that. And, we had people making their own motor mounts, and it's great if you really know what you're doing. But like, you've seen companies that come out with a whole new clutching thing to like redo our clutches and shim it and everything. And I took it, I watched all the videos on it, and I see the sheets, and I said, what do you think of this, to the guy who does all the clutching? And it's done by a computer and then tested and then adjusted in the field. And he said, well, where are they starting from? Like, they don't even know the starting numbers that Skidoo uses. So they're kind of, it's like, you got to be careful, if you're lost, and then someone blindfolds you and then takes you and puts you in another spot, you don't even know where you're starting out from anymore. And that can happen to people, and that's where people get into trouble, and they start changing all these things, because clutching, like when we use these examples, they're like, you can change like 100 different variables, and you can change one and then adjust this to make it the same as it was before. So, you get people that are like, I'm going to make it do this, this, and this. And I always tell people, I go, unless you ride like that person, and you live in the same snow conditions and you ride their same elevation, how good is it going to be? Because they're making it specific for them in that elevation. And what Skidoo does, or all the manufacturers do, is they make it general
to cover everybody.
Cover everybody. So of course there's performance gains that you can do, but most of the time they'll make it better in one specific area, and they'll make it a whole lot worse in 5 other conditions that you may ride in, by the way, right? So we see that with tracks, and people change tracks. This is a way better track. And it's like, yeah, it is for that condition. But then the other 5 conditions you ride in, the track is terrible. So, what do you want? And that's what we're talking about here. It gets very difficult, and the consumer doesn't, if they spend $1,000 or $2,000 on a track that they have and you don't have, of course it's going to be better than your track. And they're always going to tell you that. And it's not always true.
Yeah. So what's, I thought last year, how can Ski-Doo top what they've done? And they've got like the year before last, and now they've got R Motion X, and they've got a new ski, and they've got, a lot of new innovations coming out. What's on the horizon? What can we expect from Ski-Doo in 2022? One thing too is the Polaris 650. Are we gonna have that addressed by Ski-Doo, or what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what my friend who works very close with engineers, he tells me if I ask him something on a project. He goes, just don't ask me, and then I don't have to lie to you.
Mm-hmm. So, or that old saying, if I told you, I'd have to kill you, right?
Yeah, that's right. No one's watching this. No one's watching this feed anyway. So
things will always get better. And you know what? What's amazing is right now, I agree with you. We look at the stuff that we have, and actually Snow Tech magazine, great publication. I know the guys there, and they'll, it's funny. He said to me, he goes, it's funny how people complain about a skid or this or that. And he goes, can you believe that we have this skid in a snowmobile that stays tensioned, that is suspended, that goes 100 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour, that goes in 6 feet of powder to the the flattest, speediest trail and corners like rails. And we sit there and go, it's not good enough. Right?
Yeah.
And he was true. He says if people actually knew what it took just to keep that, while the suspension goes through its travel, the track still stays tensioned, like it does all those things that are doing a million things that you and I, or me, don't even know about. And he was one of the guys that that told me this, and I was like, he said this to me, and I was like, I never thought of it that way, and it's so true. And people kind of go, oh, they could make it better by doing this, this, and this, and hucking a bunch of. And it's like, yeah, but do you want to pay $30,000, $40,000 for your machine, or do you want to continue to pay the same rate of what we're doing? And yes, they go up a little bit, or they go down, or they stay the same price, but we get more every year. So yes, there is more to come. It is going to be better. I don't know how those guys and girls do it, but they do. They're in there. They drive their Audi S7s to work every day. If you know the S7, you know what I'm talking about. It's the car you tell your wife that you just wanted to get the sedan, but you don't tell her that it's got the same V10 Lamborghini engine in it, but it's got 4 doors.
With the paddle shifters.
With the paddle shifters, and you constantly over rev it because you can't really hear the exhaust like you can on a Lamborghini or an RS8. And they're the people that come in, and they're good at what they do. And one of the things that Ski-Doo has always been very good at, I would say the best, is innovation. And they have those people, and they keep them on, and they keep them working even when times got tough, like in 2008 and the recession and whatever. Lots of people got let go. Lots of people lost a job. Lots of people lost money. And what did they do? They put more into research and development, and that's what we're seeing. That's literally what we're seeing. The 8 years from that, and those turning into realities of next steps. And it doesn't matter. You go on a Sea-Doo now, and it does 300 horsepower in 3 seconds. You go on an X3 195 turbo with 3 inches of suspension, and you're like, dude, I'm just going to go in the Baja 1000 and ride this stock, right? Which normally you needed like a $500,000 to $1 million trophy truck. So we all want more, me included, but it's a pretty amazing time. I think the best time is right now, because you guys, more than me probably, knew what it was like riding a snowmobile when you were younger, and what your dad had, that he'd work on it for 4 hours to go riding it for half an hour. And now he goes out on a G4 and goes all weekend and doesn't touch it, throws it in the garage, puts more oil and gas. and we kind of have lived that. We've lived without cell phones, and now we live with cell phones. So we're not kind of like, oh man, I can't live without it. We kind of like live like I remember before cell phones, and now I have a cell phone. It's like we live in almost the best time right now because we've had it a little bit rough. It was hard. We couldn't do those things, and now we can. So we have this huge appreciation for what it is. And who knows, like young kids today, like growing up on a G4, you see these 11-year-old kids slaying, taking my job away. Damn it.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to see, and where it's going to be in 10 years. You just kind of go, wow, who knows, right?
Yeah, no,
So,
for sure.
It's
It's crazy to
exciting
see the technology, how far it's come, especially in the snowmobile industry. You know, motorcycles, ATVs, it's kind of stayed steady, but the snowmobile, that side of the recreation side, the sports for snowmobiling, it's amazing, the technology. It really is.
Yeah, well, just look after we released the turbo, how many companies were on like, we can make it better, we can make it more, we can do this. And it's all driven by passion and amazing people, talented people that want to push the industry. It comes driven by consumers too, like you and me, who want to go, yes, I do want it, you know, and I'll take it. I don't care if my engine flies out of the front end, and I'll get a picture of it and get, 1,000 likes on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
But that is, obviously we can't talk about future stuff, but there is always some cool stuff, and I'm lucky to get to sort of shadow some of the things that I get to see and try, and seriously, I shake my head and go. I remember when before Shot came out, right? My friend who was the engineer who developed that, his team, because I was always a guy who had electric start, and people would go, "Oh, that's too heavy." I said, the amount that you save, 20 pounds. If you took the battery out or put it in, I wouldn't know, right? It's a 5-pound machine. So I always ran it, and then he goes, one day when we did the T3, remember, it didn't have electric start. You couldn't get it, and the reason was he would not put it in because he goes, I took 16 pounds out of this machine. There's no way I'm putting
You're adding it back in.
And so that's why if you wanted electric start in 2015, you actually had to buy the kit and install it yourself, or have the dealer install it and pay to have it installed. And then one day he said, so we were like, he came out, he's a snowboarder too. So I took him sled snowboarding, and one day he took me to the top and he goes, I'm going to show you one day something that is like electric start, but has no battery. And I was like, no, you're not.
Datering, yeah, it's amazing.
And a year and a half later, he left. I got his engineer sled with Shot. And he goes, yeah, here, I dropped something off for you. And I remember riding it, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And that's
awesome.
I shot the video before it had come out, so I had videos on it and riding it, and it was like, yeah, I mean, you're just like, it's hard not to tell people, but you learn how to navigate those. I've had a 175 out before it was, out, and I remember my friend like, hey, what's that sled you're riding? And I said, oh, I had to take my sled into the shop, so I got this demo. He's like, that's not a 175, is it? And I said, no. And then I rode off.
Yeah, and he's probably like, "That's a 175. You just lied to me."
Well, he didn't know, but a week later, of course, when he saw the video, he goes, "You were a liar." So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
You tiptoe around. Right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I do. Speaking of Shot, I do have that our first interaction there when we collaborated on a project. If you recall, I'll just bring it up right here for us all to see.
Oh.
We're
gonna have sound here.
We don't have sound though, right?
No, yeah, won't we? Yeah.
Here, let me see.
Unless you figured it out, but
can you hear sound? Can you hear it? No.
No.
Oh, why is that?
We'll
I wonder if it's because it's on a different. Here, try. Let me know if you get sound now. Is there sound now?
No.
Nope.
Ah, there is a share sound when you share screen.
It is an amazing video you did, and
is this the one at the show? This is the one.
No, I do have the one at the show after talking about it. I don't know why there's no. Oh wait, here, share audio. I got it. Here we go.
Right,
okay, cool.
This is it. Can you hear that now, guys?
No.
Still no.
No.
You almost
Oh my God. You almost don't need sound, but
That's
it's,
true. Yeah.
that video was awesome, and you know what? It is what the
I'll be
sport
right back, guys. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right back. Sorry.
It's what the sport needs more of. I just shared. I just shared a video, a ski flick with two women that are really good friends of mine, and it's about this girl. Like, she kind of goes to their job and shows their day job. One's a guide, and one's a pro. Well, they're both pro skiers, and one's a certified. She was the first ACMG guide in the world, and they did a video, it's like a 14-minute film, and it's so funny. And it kind of makes fun of stuff and whatever, but it's what we need more in our industry. People take it sometimes way too serious, and guys get into fights over silly stuff. And really, we're all out trying to have fun in the mountains with our best buddies. And it's that kind of video that you did that really, when we met, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And shows who your characters and who you guys are. And it's about why you have your show, right? It's about why you have your shows is getting people out and encouraging them. It doesn't matter how good you are. That doesn't matter. It's more the fun you have, right? We all have pulled off a magic moment in life, and we've all failed miserably. But it's almost more fun, the failures. We all have that one guy who's, he's at 4:00 in the afternoon. Let's go, guys. We got to get home. It's going to be dark in 10 minutes. And it's like, boom, they're stuck like this, for digging 5 minutes, right? Like, that's what makes getting back to the truck in the dark and being in the bar later, drinking a beer, talking about it. That's what it's all about.
Oh, for sure. For sure. No, I mean, I love the personality you have. You're either loved or you're hated in the world, right? And it's just, there was a Facebook chat, and your name would come up, and Mark Bowe, if he's still watching, he'll attest I stuck up for you, because it's like until you meet the guy, Dave Norona, he knows more about mountain riding and mountain sports. I'm talking about mountain sports in general than anyone I know. But you're also one hell of a guy. You're a character, and you're funny, and you're great to talk to. And at the sled show, it was just such an experience to meet you. And I'm honored that you decided to come on here. I can't thank you enough. I didn't sleep at all last night. It was like Christmas morning for me.
Well,
it was.
I'm honored to be on it. I'm honored to hear you speak those words. Yeah, I mean, social media is, like you say, you're either loved or hated. And, how I get through, and this may help all of your people out there, because I get it a lot. And it's good and bad. But I always say, when someone says something bad about you and they don't know you, they're a lot of times talking about themselves or how they feel about themselves, because they obviously don't know you. I can't just pick some random guy and tell you what he's like, because I never met him.
For sure. Yeah.
And I get it all the time, and I go, in a way, it's a little sad, because that's how that person feels about themselves. And then
insecurity,
they project that to you, saying you're like that. And it's funny when you actually know that. It's called mirroring. And if you look it up, it's like what we do as humans. If someone yells at you, it's usually what your dad might have yelled at you as a kid, and you're just releasing it now into the wild, into someone else. And it's interesting when that happens. When you see it and you start to know, you actually go, well, this is like, wow, this person said this. That's how they must feel, which is kind of, in a way, sad, because they're probably not like that. They were just told they were. And I have a kid now, and she's amazing and young, and I love, that's the biggest thing, is my job is to provide her with an openness that to love all sports and love all people, and people are going to be different. That's what makes it great. And when you get online, it can be it's navigating it can be, I love it, but I also hate it at the same time. But it's part of our job. And one of the engineers said to me once, he said, without that passion, we wouldn't have a job. So you have to take it with a grain of salt and answer people's questions. And I had one guy say to me once, he goes, I used to think your videos were stupid and you didn't need to do it, but this one I really enjoyed. And I said, well, that's the thing about my videos. If you know how to change your chain case oil, my video is absolutely useless to you. But remember,
yeah, that's right.
just bought a new machine, and like I did, or a used machine, and I didn't even know what a chain case was. And when I watch a video on it, I can go there and do it, and I can feel confident that I did it right and fixed it. And that's what that video is for. It's not to say, hey, I know everything about a chain case oil and the chain case, because if I made the video how I need to sometimes with Skidoo, sometimes those videos are really hard. If you don't mention the torque wrench and all that, you can, not liable, but you're sort of teaching people like the wrong way if they don't tighten the bolt up. And but so it can be, a video could be an hour, whereas you just really want the 10-minute video of somebody doing it. And if that helps you, then now you know a little bit more and you can move on to cleaning your clutches next time, right? So it's really comes from, I was there once and I'm making videos to help people that are, 80% of the people that are out there, they've bought a new machine, they don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So that's what those are really for. And you know what? If guys are super gnarly or way gnarlier than me, there's a ton of them out there. Then they got to go watch Tony Jenkins videos and Carl Kuster videos and Jeremy, they got Ashley Chat. They got all these amazing people that, just like in Polaris, you choose who resonates with you. If it's Chris Brandt or if it's Matt Enns, and they're all Dan Adams. I know those guys all personally, amazing people. I bug Chris Brandt the most just because he's the number one guy. He's the best sledder in the world, and he's an amazing guy. And I saw him at Heydays. He was funny because I was there and he goes, "Hey Dave," and I kind of knew that he knew me, but I didn't know he would knew me. So I was like, "Hey, just so you know, Chris, if I ever make fun of you, it is in the highest regard that I'm not making fun of you. I'm laughing sort of with you, right?" Because one day we walked into Grizzly Lodge in one of the rooms and there was a couple of spark plugs on the night table. And I said, "Oh, this is obviously Chris Brandt's room."
That's awesome. I love it.
It's like, I never say that to be spiteful. It's more like I watch his stuff because he's a leader in our industry. He works with the most sponsorship. He works with the highest caliber. He does really great jobs on builds. I name drinks after him all, after Lumanilla and all this when we were at Grizzly Lodge, because they're edged in my brain from watching his videos building these lightweight sleds. And we talk about it all the time at Skidoo. We need to do, Tony or Carl could be those two people who take a sled and build like a lightweight Skidoo. People would love it. They'd eat it up, right? Taking whatever 100 pounds out of a Skidoo and making it super lightweight. Carl does it already. And so we all look at those things, and that's what's cool about the industry. We all know each other. And there's, speaking of which, Rob Kincaid, bless his heart, rest in peace. Yeah. I remember when I met Dave McClure and Rob Kincaid, when I first got on Skidoo, of course, I was like, why is that guy on here? I'm better than that guy. And I remember going down to the States and I thought, oh boy, I'm going to, these guys are like legends. And Rob Kincaid and Dave McClure right away, they were like, "Dave Norona, sit down here and we're doing autographs here." And I was like, I don't get starstruck, but I was just impressed with those guys as human beings, how amazing they were. And Rob Kincaid is the guy who's taught us all that stuff. Like, man, we're just all riders. There's nothing special about me or anybody else. Just go out and have fun. And he was the guy that created that that's the industry. It's based on.
Yeah.
And so when you're not acting like that, when you're yelling at people and for this and that, making fun of them in the thing, you're not being true to Rob Kincaid. Like he would never do that. He was always laughing at himself first, upside down in a hole, and he was the best at it in every way, shape, or form. And I, if I can bring in 1% of what Rob Kincaid brought into the industry, I'd be so happy to do that. And he's a guy that's going to be missed for, everybody who has something to say about him. It's the same thing, right? He's just going to be missed. And
you just have to see it. Looked at his funeral, Dave. You hit the nail on the head. The guy was so well respected, right? So yeah. Definitely be missed. But it's no different. Snowmobilers are a tight group of people. Like we all ride different sleds. Like I can tell you there'll be a lot of ball busting this season when I start riding with Gary, and hopefully we want to get Bobby and his dad up and his buddy Josh, hopefully, to get up riding in Canada, and it's a camaraderie. It doesn't matter what brand you ride. It's
Oh, for sure.
we're
For
all
sure.
out for doing the same thing. Like, when I started following Bobby and Gary, it was because I love the sport and I got back into it. And I don't know, we're definitely a different kind of breed for sure, snowmobilers. So,
and I get recognized out there once in a while, and people will come after the fact. I was actually at the Red Canoe when you guys were in there for lunch, and I'm like, next time come over and say hi. And I didn't want to bug you at your table, and it's like, no, next time come over and say hello, and you know what, and then we'll shoot the shit. And oh, I didn't know you did, and I shout the guy out on the next video and that kind of thing. And it's like, I always say people are looking up to me in that respect, and I'm a little guy, right? This guy is way bigger than I am, but the there's a lot more people that ride way more than me, and it's like, if I have something to share and it helps one person out, then that's all it needs to help, and I'm doing it because I enjoy it. Jeremy and I had a chat today, and do it because we do this YouTube thing because we love it, and we don't do it because we're making money at it, because we're not. It's not nearly enough money for what the hours you put into it. But I started doing it just to help myself out, so I'd remember, hey, how to unstuck that choke, or how to do this, and then from there, it just, people start commenting, and it started rolling and rolling and rolling, and here we are today. I've got Dave Norona on my show, so love it.
Yeah, you can only go up from here from me.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good, man.
Yeah,
Thanks, Robbie.
Very good.
It's all about, I mean, I agree. I think what you're doing is amazing, and there's not there, in a way there needs to be more of it. And the problem is I mean, it's really just passing on good information, and in this day and age, I see more. Sometimes it's like the information you get to guys is not accurate, and if anything, you just want to give like accurate information, because there are lots of guys that need help, and they will kind of take all of it on a forum. They'll take it like, oh, that's true, and a lot of it isn't true. And I tell, for my job, I can't lie. When we get only stats and figures, and if I am caught lying, it's I'm like, well, who wants someone around that's lying? But it's funny, other people all the time that come on there, and they'll just say the things that are just like totally untrue, and it's like, if I go after it, then I'm like, oh, well, you're being defensive. It's like, you can't win, right? So you have to kind of pick and choose your battles, and lots of times I just say, oh, okay. That's the way.
What are you most excited about in this coming season? What have you got any big plans coming up, or?
Yeah, I'm just like everybody. I'm excited. I try not to get too excited about the snow, because it will come in time. We have a lot of rain in between then, and it'll start to happen. But man, the first time we see snow on the mountains here, which will probably be in the next 15 days, and then we'll have a snowstorm that'll come down, and there'll be snow on the mountains, and everybody will go crazy. That's when I really get excited. And I get excited about now is some of the new stuff that's arriving, and accessories, and doing videos. It kind of fuels the fire, and not to say that there wasn't fire there before, but having all this stuff and looking at it and trying to help people or figure out how to get people. Like, one thing that happens is guys go into they pick up their sled in say November, and then they go, oh, I want this and that bag, and the guy goes, that's back ordered, that's back ordered, that's back ordered. So I tell people, well, if you have accessories you want, go through your catalog, make a list, take it to your dealer right now, so that it's there waiting for you when you pick up your sled, that it's not back ordered till December, right? When
that's a good point.
So, and it isn't to try and sell them on stuff. It's just like, I've been in that position when something's back ordered, and you're like, I want this now, and it's kind of lets the wind out of your sails if you can't get it or it's back ordered. And it's just the sheer numbers of how much dealers, if they know in September that 40 people want that piece, they can order 40 and 20 extra. Whereas normally they'll just order 20, and then 40 get it, 20 are back ordered, and the 20 that come late, they're not seeing it till January. And it's just a numbers game at that point. So now is the time. It's to go out and do your Avi safety and pull all your gear out and check your radios and, all your clothing and, that's how I spend a lot of my time is organizing stuff so that everything's ready to go. So the first day, I kind of have a rule in my house because I do lots of different sports. I should be able to get ready, do something in 10 minutes. So I have all the, shelving and stuff, and people come to my house and be like, "Wow, you must really like running," or because I have all these runners and boots and whatever. But it's just I don't own a suit. Okay, so if you ask me to go to a job site, I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts.
Nice. Well, the nice thing, Dave, about watching you guys out west is you're always starting a month to, well, no more, like 2 months ahead of us. So we're out here rubbing our hands, watching you guys, ride out west, and it's awesome. It gets us pumped up for our season out here. So, but
that was a question in the chat at the very start. Is when is your first day of riding, Dave?
So I will say before I answer that is, you guys are watching us. We're watching Jeremy Mercier because he lives in Colorado and he'll be riding. Yes. I'm not kidding. He'll be riding probably in the next 15 days. He'll be out riding.
Yeah.
And so in Whistler and stuff, we don't really ride, and we can ride as early. The earliest I've ridden is November 11th. But that's extremely early. But usually by mid-November, what ends up happening is I usually sled ski for the first bit, because what happens is it gets filled in and you can ride, but you can't really ride around. And usually if you do, you're going to hit something and you're going to wreck something. So what I love is I go up sled skiing, and then you're riding, but you're just riding the road that you made. You're not trying to find POW, and you're skiing the POW. And so if I ski over rocks on my skis, I don't really care, but I don't want eat A-arms and skis and all that. So usually those guys who go out first, they always bust stuff, and then they're waiting for stuff, and then it starts dumping. But our real riding starts early December. So it could be from the 1st of December to the 15th of December is when and then, by the 20th of December usually is when you don't have to think about it anymore, hitting stuff. You still got to tiptoe around maybe. But it all depends. It could come in fast and furious and then we're loving life, or it could just be a little bit, take its time, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Every year is different. And that's the fun of it. I'm sure it's the same every year we always look out east to, it's where the numbers are. And if you guys get a good early winter and then the trails can form, then of course people can get out and ride. And there's nothing worse than seeing dry trails out east and then it's cold. And, if you had the snow.
They're calling for a good winter this year. They're supposed to, but you know what? We'll wait and see, because I think it's that. Is it La Nina or what was it?
La Nina.
La Nina's coming in hot.
The only good thing of sledders is we got short-term memory loss. So even though if last year sucked, we will still be revving to go.
Because it's going to be better this year. His dealer told him that it's going to be the best winter ever.
Yeah. Well, do you remember those years of El Nino? I mean, that was terrible. It was pouring rain in January.
Yeah,
we were supposed to have a La Nina 3. We were supposed to have La Nina 3 years ago, and that's when we had the early snow. And then in January, El Nino came. So
right,
yeah, I know.
They can't predict the weather tomorrow accurately.
Yeah. I just hope for a cold, long winter, and hopefully we're going into. I follow these science guys on Twitter, and they're saying we're going into a solar minimal. So and they're saying it's going to be a mini ice age in the next 10, 15 years. So I'll be okay.
That would be good. That would be good for big skidoo company. I was talking.
Sorry, the only thing that makes it easier here is that we have elevation. So even if it's a crappy year, it just means you got to drive higher to the snow.
Go up,
so it's not fun because you got to drive up these roads higher, but we still have, like 2010 when the Olympics were here, there was like no snow. And I was sled skiing way more and I was going every weekend. But you just had to go higher. And, but they had no snow on Cyprus where they had the Olympics. They literally flew snow in and made snow and put the Olympics on to show you what they can do. Hopefully we don't have one of those years. And I agree. I think it's going to be it's always a good year.
Yeah, Bobby, I was just talking. Bobby's in New York. He gets the lake effect from Lake Ontario, don't you, Bobby? Like you guys get nailed down in Old Forge, right? Like I see some of your things. I'm like, it's green grass where you live. You were saying, Bobby, and you drive an hour and it's like 2 feet of snow.
Exactly. The only thing that sucks with that is sometimes we'll get the bigger temperature swings. So you'll have like a super snowy Friday and then suddenly Saturday it's above freezing and it can really mess things up. But yeah, when we get a good dumping of lake effect, it's awesome.
Yeah, that is
There's
cool.
nothing I enjoy more than like where Rev Rider is when it snows right in the town and everything's shut down except for all the snowmobilers who are starting to air off of garages.
Yep, that happened a couple years ago. We had a state of emergency, so you could ride sleds down the road, but we actually stored our sleds 2 hours north, so I couldn't ride mine because it was.
Oh no!
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
that's always the case.
I remember watching all that stuff on the news, and I was like, "That is awesome!" Like, rad.
Yeah. No, I was talking to a farmer, and he said that it's going to be a lot of snow, and then I gave him my theory on it, and he said, "I know because those pine trees they have pine cones on, and they only get good pine cones when there's a good snow year coming." And I've never seen this many pine cones. So Mike Kay actually told me the year that I bought the 50th anniversary edition that it was going to be the best winter ever because the ant hills are so high and the ants build higher hills because it's going to be deeper snow so that they're up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like
Jeremy,
the caterpillar fur, right?
Yeah. Ask Jeremy. You have to ask Mike how the ant hills are looking this year.
Oh,
He had a horrible winter.
Yeah, well.
Oh, that's awesome.
But listen, Dave, I think we'll cut it. It's been 2 hours and 25 minutes, and
that was a great show. That was awesome.
I told him it was only 5 minutes. I told him I just need you to come on for 5 minutes and say hi, and that was it. So,
Dave, you're an awesome guest, man. Honestly, that was amazing. I can't believe it's been 2 hours and 20 minutes. Thank you so much for coming on.
Just be thankful that I wasn't drinking beer because it'd be pretty sloppy by the end here now.
Yeah, for sure.
What time is it, because you're 3 hours
I only want to cut
right?
it short because this one's empty.
Yeah, it's 6:30 here now, so it's not even late.
Geez.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I'm on dinner duty and then bath duty with my daughter, so it works out perfectly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, all the best, Dave, and thank you again. And let's stay in touch. And you're welcome to come back on anytime if you have some new things you want to talk about coming out in the new year. You want to use a platform for the live shows. I'd love to have you back on.
That would seriously, guys. That means a ton. And just so you know, all our viewers, if they need anything, like hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, and if they need it, like I said, if I can help you, if guys come out west, I can kind of give them a little bit of a beta where they can go, where they can touch base. I love doing that to help guys, and I can't tell you exactly what snow light is going to be there the time you come. It can change, just like Bobby was saying. It can be. We get big temperature swings here too. It's the West Coast, so it's very similar. But any way I can help, that's what I'm here for. And it seriously was. It flew by, and hopefully I didn't take too much of your time talking about silly stuff. But anyway, we'll anything you need, and I'd love to be back on.
Thank you again. Yeah. So we're gonna. Did you have anything else to say, Rev Rider? Yeah, you've been stealing the show. You've been chatty Cathy tonight.
Yeah, right. No, it's just been great to listen to Dave, and honestly, like Gary said, it's like meeting a legend. I'm watching you at all the dealer shows and everything, and I even remember watching you this last season talking about the backcountry and all that. So to be able to talk in person, or through this at least, it's a big treat.
Yeah. Actually, one last funny thing about that. When I met you at the sled show in Toronto, I was like waiting for you to finish talking to somebody. It's in that one video, the fun and games or fun times at the Toronto Sled Show. And I'm holding the camera going, look who's behind me. And then we had to wait. And I'm saying to Drew, oh my God, I can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to meet him. And then I go, like I'm talking, like I'm like the devil's advocate to myself. They say you should never meet your heroes. What if it's that case? What if but it wasn't. I'm so glad I met you, buddy. We had so much fun. And it's a story I always tell people, because it's like, we waited for you, and it's like I was second guessing, should I talk to this guy, and who am I to bug this punk? And it was awesome. Yeah,
well, it's funny. I love it. As you can tell at the show, I remember Ashley said one time, like, you talked to that guy for like an hour. I was like, I didn't feel like it, and that's. I love it. You can't fake it. You can't go to shows if you don't like it. You wouldn't, you wouldn't do it. So. Yeah. I absolutely love it, meeting everyone that comes into the booth and has something to say. And, even the guys that are really mad. And I've had a bunch of those guys. And my favorite, I'll end on this note. A good guy, one of my favorite guys, Craig, who works for Skidoo. It was kind of after the belt thing, and some guy came into the booth at Jackson. He goes, What's going on about this belt issue? And Craig just looked at him in the face and he goes, What belt issue? I swear I saw steam coming out of the guy's ears. I swear. And then Craig says, just joking. And then it was, but it was just a way to ease the, some people come in and like, again, sledders we're passionate. So if you have a problem, we're going to hear about it. And we're not here to blow fluff. We're here to help you. And that's what's great about Heydays and some of these shows is we got service tech there. So we got the people who deal with this stuff, fix it. And this, where I learned that, I don't know, I'm not a wealth of knowledge. I learn from those people and then I can pass it on. Right. And those guys can't be everywhere because they're, they're like, I'm at the bottom of the ladder. Those guys are at the top. So they just hand the buckets down and I try and help as many people as I can.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, you're definitely passionate, Dave. You can feel it from you. That was great, man. This 2.5 hours just flew. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. And listen, everybody still watching this podcast or this live stream, just wait another few seconds, and there's 2 more videos that Revrider and I think you'll enjoy. Click on the links that follow in the next few seconds, and if you appreciate it, leave a comment, like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you thought it was horrible, give it a thumbs down. I don't care. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to Mudbrats, subscribe to Revrider550, and subscribe to Rich Outdoors now, too.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks again, guys.
Yep.
Right on. See you.
You guys still there, Gary?
There we go.
That was good, boys.